We were trying to think one thing. Tomorrow morning, for 22 of us are going to have to drive to the airport to catch an 8 o'clock flight at 8 o'clock at Delhi, right? So this morning we're coming out of the hotel. Visibility is barely 5 feet or 10 feet. So we need to be able to predict, and this is something that as engineers, maybe we have the information to predict what will be the weather, what will be it like tomorrow at 4:30 in the morning, so we can drive and reach by 6 or 6:30 at the airport. I'm told Yaj and some people have come from Delhi this morning. It's clear. Gurgaon, Delhi airport, clear and sunny. As soon as you cross the Yamuna River, boom, it settles down. So I think we talked about all this Internet of Things and smart stuff. You should be able to right now put up a video, predicted weather from here to Delhi airport at 4:30 in the morning. You should be able to see that picture. Based on the extrapolation the last few days, extrapolate from the last few days, and create a video of what the road might look like. I think we have in 42 minutes, it's going to snow for 20 minutes. Yeah. And in the US, we have been hit by big snowstorms. Yeah, Stephanie Farrell can't make it to Madurai because of the snow. She said she has to cancel. Maybe should I go and ring the bell there? What song do it? Must take another back. Good morning. Everybody doing well? Okay, so another day, another opportunity to learn from each other. We have with us Dr. Ashok Agarwal. He, like me, went to the United States many years ago, and having been a teacher, he more recently has become the Director of International Programs at the American Society for Engineering Education, for all the engineering colleges all over the United States. This ASEE is the organization that helps connect people. So he's in charge of international programs, and so Ashok is a ASWE actually is also a sponsor we have here. So we want to thank you, Ashok, for having been part of making this possible. So over to you.
Thank you, Krishna, and good morning. My name is Ashok Agrawal, and as Dr. Vidula mentioned, I'm the Managing Director for Professional Services and Director for External Affairs at ASEE. Let me just mention a couple of sentences about ASEE, and then I'll move on to the topic of my presentation. ASEE is a membership-driven professional organization, has been there for about 124 years. Next year, we'll be celebrating 125th year of this organization. It has about 10,000 engineering faculty in the US and across many countries, about 400 institutions. So it's primarily a membership-driven organization of college faculty as well as institution. Our primary function that happens or focus is faculty development. And the topic of my presentation this morning and the topic of this conference, when I saw transformation in engineering education, it made sense to talk about this topic. Let me also mention ASE has been also many of US visitors in this conference. I would bet they are ASE members. You can have a show of hand. Large number of them are ASE members, and I hope they find that membership quite valuable. I know I've been a member for 36 years or 37 years prior to becoming a staff, and it changed my professional life in that regard. So let me talk about 2E program. 2E program actually is a National Science Foundation funded project. And the focus of this activity is essentially a multi-phase activity identifying what curricular, pedagogical, cultural change that needs to happen in engineering so that we can attract more students, we can retain more students, and the quality of students and the graduates we produce are industry relevant and accepted by the industry. So that was how the project began about 4 years ago. But recently I was involved in a conversation with the program officer or program director who has been involved in funding this project. He mentioned his goal and NSF's goal is democratization of engineering. In India, I think because of the sheer number, large number of students engaged. But in the US, it is still a very, I would say, select group of students who participate in engineering education. It's either diversity is not there, or quality of students or economic status of students who engage is not the same that is we would like to see. So the democratization of engineering education is one of their goals. As I mentioned, it's a multi-phase project. It began in 2013, and I will focus my conversation this morning on one of those phases, which is students. So phase one, we essentially gathered a group of industry folks, talked about what knowledge, skills, and abilities students of today and students of 25 years down the road should have. Once we collected all that, and some of it you heard yesterday from presenters from Dassault as well as from National Instruments, and they kind of put on the slide all the findings that we had, 36 knowledge, skills, and abilities that were identified. What we did after that is we said, okay, this is what industry is telling us. Then let's talk about what students happen and what students believe and what's happening in the classroom. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Then phase three of this activity, which was actually not part of 2E project, was women in engineering. Is a challenge in the US, both in terms of classrooms as well as in terms of professional, in terms of sustaining their engagement. So this was a separate project altogether, but we saw the relevance of that activity. So we sort of faced that activity also in a 2E concept. And lastly, the phase 4 of this activity was bringing together professional society, faculty, and so on, talking to them about this is what we heard from industry, this is what we heard from students. Now, how do we make those changes? And all of these things, all of the 4 studies are complete. Phase 1 is available on the website right now. Phase 2, 3, and 4 should be available in a month or so. So this morning, I'm just going to whet your appetite about this activity. I will not give you all the details information because that you will have to gather from the website, the full report, and so on. But hopefully, you'll get some understanding of what this project is about and what industry is looking for, what students are looking for, and so on. So, what we want to do in this case is essentially find out what, who, when, where, and how. What knowledge, skills, and abilities students should have. Who's responsible for providing those KSAs? Is it faculty? Is it parents? Is it students? Is it mentors, industry, and so on? When in their life students should gain those academic and professional curriculum in terms of continuum in the classroom or in the lifelong learning and so on. Where exactly these KSAs should be learned? Is it in a school setting? Is it in an informal setting? Is it through internship? Is it through co-op program, etc.? And lastly, what strategies should be used to engage specific KSA within the learnings? So these are the kind of questions. These are the kind of things we are after and we are trying to find out. As KSAs, I won't spend too much time on that. So those of you who are involved in these types of activities know what knowledge, skills, and abilities are. Essentially, so I'll skip this slide in the interest of time. I want to make sure that I am sensitive to that. So at this point, phase 2, let me just focus on this. We invited about 40 students and had a pre-workshop survey and the workshop. Essentially, the purpose of pre-workshop survey was to collect from them. This is what the industry said. Tell us online what you think is happening, what should happen in your classroom, and so on. But as you know, writing from your classroom or writing from your home, responding to that, you may do different, your mindset is different. So we wanted to convene them in Washington, D.C. and invite them and talk about face-to-face conversation. This is what you said online. Is this really what you believe in? Is this what you think is happening? And one thing I would say, we selected these students based on names provided to us by the deans of colleges. We sent a mass invitation, and the response was absolutely overwhelming in terms of how the students reacted. I've been involved in many projects of these type, activities of this type. Having 2 days talking to students, of 40 students from all over the country, from different disciplines, was the most enlightening and fascinating time for us. Again, we wanted to make sure we had representation from all different groups, all different disciplines. So therefore, we selected students to make sure that we have a good representation from everybody. The aim was to better understand students' perspective on 2 key questions: how the culture of engineering education could be better adjusted, and how do we transform the experience that students are getting in the classroom. And those were the kind of things we were after. Essentially, what we did, we had a series of 4 different breakout sessions. Those breakout sessions were focused on getting students' views and reflections on KSAs. What industry identified, do you agree with those views? Then asking them this question that we are after: what formal classroom, social, and family environment that you're being exposed to when you're learning these KSAs? What are the gaps in what industry expects, and what are you getting in the classroom? And what students believe are the most learning environment for them. Is it the formal setting? Is it the informal setting? Is it co-op, and so on? So the question that we had, we posed those questions to students in a formal workshop setting and asked for their input. I won't spend any time on these 2 slides. These are very complicated to read from sitting where you are, but I would mention that when you look at this report online, you want to spend some time understanding and reading these slides, because this is where all the findings are. This is where the crux of the information is. We ask students, what are the importance of engineering education? And what is the quality of education? Is there a match in that or not? And what they see as whether it is very important, significantly, moderately important, unimportant, and so on. Then we also match their findings or their comments and their observations with industry. This is what industry has said they want. What do students do? And this, I just want to mention one thing. But we often take it for granted that we know best. We know it all. We are college faculty. We can solve all the problems. It's a, if whether you consider students as customers, whether you consider that as a, that's the education is for, we really need to get their input. And I think this is something that you really want to be cognizant of, that is what do students think, what's happening in the classroom. This, after 2 days, we collected all the data, did all the analysis, and the summary recommendations that came from their conversation was, again, I wish you will read this report, specific comments that were made by students. It was really enlightening. In the curriculum, they want real world projects. They want team design projects. They want you to show engineering applications in science and math. So we kind of clustered all of their comments over 2 days into these three categories. What do they want changes in curriculum? Then about faculty. Do faculty have the passion and expertise to the courses they're teaching? They really want to see faculty who are engaged with students, who really want to work with students. In case of US environment or US institutions, tenure is a big conversation and a big issue. And they emphasize the point that they would like to see teaching as a part of tenure and encourage creativity, improve accountability, and so on. And from institution, they expect early access to mentoring, creating a sense of community, and having diversity of professors. So these, I mentioned that at the first. Let me share some of the specific comments in the next few slides, but I wanted to put those summaries in first for you, so that, in case I don't have time, you would have seen the summaries at least. So let me share with you some of the specific recommendations. As I mentioned, they want easy access to mentoring. They want open-ended interdisciplinary projects undertaken by groups. One thing interesting they said was they want faculty to actually force students to adapt new partners. Their point is that typically what happens, we form our groups based on who we know. We form our groups based on our friends. We want you to require us to go to new groups, like Krishna did with our group. He moved us around often. They wanted us to do the same thing in their classrooms. As I said earlier, they want to focus on real world problems through internships, through co-ops, and so on. They also want to enhance connection with students and professors, creating a sense of community. Team design project from freshman year, they emphasize this point extensively. They want to understand what the engineering is about from the very first year. And they want to continue that design project to the upper level courses. They want diversity of professors, gender, ethnic, experience in industry, academia, and academic, and so on. One thing that they emphasize a lot, we all have taken math and physics and chemistry and biology courses. They want some relevance. They want to see, are their calculus physics courses have some relevance to engineering? They want to encourage faculty to encourage supplying real world problems. They want to get some minor credits and certificates for proficiency in soft skills. They want a project-based learning. They really want to emphasize that part of it. They also mentioned they would like to see single course combining ethics, business, and entrepreneurship, and so on. One thing that struck us, and didn't know how to include that in the final report, but they said they want to make it required professors learn how to teach. This is something that was really, strong. And they made some examples of individual institutions that they came from. There's some startup weekends and concept of professor practices and so on. So again, the summary recommendation on curriculum, faculty, and institution that I shared with you earlier, that, you can again look at that. So after we did all of these 4 things, where do we go from here? So we had a meeting with the NSF program director. He said, there's so much stuff. How do we do all that? So he made a challenge to us that you have all this information. Tell us 1 or 2 things. What is it within quotation marks, that we really want to change, that we can really make an impact? And that's where they want to put their money on. So I think our challenge, those of us who are, especially from the US, engaged in the education community, we need to identify, looking at these, all of these students that, all of these things, industries that, what is it, what is one or two things that will really make an impact in improving engineering education? And that is our challenge. I guess that is a challenge for all of you to identify and say, what is it that we need to do? And I think that pretty much covers my presentation.
Great. So that leaves us our think, where, discuss session. Going beyond lecture. So for 1 minute, or 30 seconds to 1 minute, reflect on what you have heard from the talk right now. Reflect on what it means for you as a faculty member or non-faculty or industry member, for your students, and for the institution. And we'll all keep quiet. Now turn to the person next to you. Everybody, turn to the person next to you and talk about the reflection that you just had. Okay? Turn to the person next to you. If you don't have a person next to you, move if you have to. Everybody turn to the person next to you. The relevance of what you heard to you or your institution or to your students. Everybody. Okay, I hate to cut this short. Okay, let me make an observation of the noise that you just heard. People talking, the noise that you just heard, that's very, very important. You have to make this possible in your classroom, where you hear your students talking to each other and making noise about these things, thoughts that are going through their head. Normally, we think, I have all the information, I'm the boss over here. Discipline, don't talk for 1 hour. Nothing is happening in that 1 hour. They're not learning anything unless they are reflecting on what you said. So this noise that we just heard for a few minutes has to happen every 10 or 15 minutes in your lecture. But the trick is not to let it get out of control. Because it will get out of control for some people in the back there. They start talking about the cinema or something like that and get out of control. So it's a challenge. This is a facilitation process. So bring them back to you and continue the process, right? So let us take 1 or 2 comments, questions. Anil?
Yeah, there were 2 points which I see very significant. They want an early mentor-mentee program, and they want professors to have industrial experience. Now, what I would suggest is a portal, or use any of the available portals where a mentor-mentee programs can be done, where industry folks can be mentored. So they have their own ways of doing it, but the mentor could be a joint, one professor and one from the industry, and the whole class can choose anybody who wants to be a mentee to join that. So it's plugging in both the things.
Great. Thank you, Anil. A good friend of mine has worked for General Electric for many years. He's from industry. We have several people from industry sprinkled in our conference here. Thank you. Other comments? Yeah, in the back there.
So I've been part of the interdivisional town hall meeting that ASCE does every year as well. And I wanted to make a quick comment on the IT that you said we need to talk about. We've had a lot of discussions on those. And people might not be aware that it's a long process. It starts with a online conference, and then at the ASCE meeting, hundreds of faculty meet and talk about this. The one thing that came out as a recommendation from that, among many other things, was a certification program that needs to go on in the US. And I think we have already, with ICTIEE, started something very good here. In Europe, of course, there's one that is very well known. And perhaps that could be the IT that one can focus on, make sure there's a standardized certification that happens for US professors, which is currently lacking.
Ina and Lueni, get ready. We have to go global with our certification program. Last comment there.
And I think the key thing here is that we are engineering educators. We have to be engineers, and not science, not research, not the lab. We have to be engineers and practice engineering so that we can be role models for our students. 95% of them will be engineers, not scientists like us. And the second part, the second part is educator. So we need to know how to educate, how people learn. What are the best practices to have the students, like you said, be awake in the classroom? Two things need to happen. Active learning, number one, and two, they have to be happy in the classroom. If those two things don't wake, the brain cells don't move.
Okay, let's go over time. Yes, Hans, quick comment. 30 seconds.
Just one comment. I want to congratulate you on the work, excellent work that you've done. The fundamental gap I see, I did not see a single word that talked about the world internationally. Totally missing in this analysis.
Okay, move on here. Thank you so much, Ashok. Give him a big hand. Now we have our friend Mohan Rao from Tennessee Tech.
Like so? Oh. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Well, I'm going to talk about this morning lifelong learning. How to instill lifelong learning skills in pretty much every course that you teach. Right? And it's not too hard. All it takes is just a little bit of awareness, a little bit of understanding of what lifelong learning is all about, and a willingness on your part and a commitment to do this. Okay? It's nothing new. It's something that you've heard all along. And in fact, we have been doing this throughout our lives for thousands of years. Human beings have been learning all our lives. Okay? We'd like to start with a couple of quotes here. One is from the Society of Manufacturing Engineering about what is lifelong learning. It says here very clearly that the illiterate person of the future will not be the person who has not learned how to read or write, but rather the person who has not learned how to learn. Extremely important, right? And also another quote from Mark Twain that says, he says that I have never let my schooling interfere with my education. So there's a big difference between what we teach or what we focused on, just covering the material about what is lifelong learning, what the students need to know. Because, once they go to school or get a degree for 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years, we have 40, 50 years of career. There is no way you can teach them everything that you need to know in these 4 years. Yes, right? There's technology that we've never been invented yet. In fact, if you look back into past 10 years, the way the students are learning these days, especially after the Google, after internet, after the smartphones, it's very different. Never imagined that. So that's what we should focus on. So our definition, the way I define lifelong learning is this. So it's the means, okay, having the desire and skills, continue access knowledge outside the classroom setting. So that's exactly what AVET defines also. So for those of us who are in, in accreditation, especially in the US, one of the outcomes that we need to satisfy when the accreditors come is this outcome I that has two components to that. One is for lifelong learning, it's a recognition for the need for lifelong learning. The students have to recognize that there's a need for that. And the first part. The second part is, how do you do this? How do you engage the students? The ability to engage students in lifelong learning. So these two are two different things that we really have to, we have to structure our activities, we have to structure our assignments, we have to structure our classroom, everything to make sure at the end of the course and the end of the graduation, students realize, recognize that, hey, there is more to it. They should know what they don't know. They should be aware of that. At the same time, just because they don't know, they should not stop there. They should be able to say, I don't know, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to find out. I'm willing to find out. There's something out there. So they should not stop at I don't know. That's what it is. So if you accomplish this, you're doing a good job. Okay. So now we'll just take a few seconds here, and I want to ask you, audience, what do you think are the characteristics of a lifelong learner? If you see a student, if you think that's, oh yeah, that's a lifelong learner, what characteristics are there? Let's brainstorm it. Very good. That's the first one. You said it. Okay. What else? Resourceful and sorry. Observing. Yes. Networking, questioning, curiosity, interest, passion for learning. Very important, right? Motivation, right? Everybody agrees that. We need to motivate them. They should be always motivated, responsible. And then self-starter, very important, self-starting nature. Especially if they want to do research, if they want to go to graduate school. These are very, interesting attributes they should have. These say in this day and age, technology is moving so fast. This is also, that comes into play. Information literacy, being able to access knowledge at their fingertips, knowing what's out there. Information literacy. Finally, critical thinking. Okay. So these are some of the characteristics that we look for. Now, how do we teach these things? Is there something, can we teach them? Are they born with lifelong learning abilities, or is there something you can instill? It's possible, we can do this, okay? So I have this saying here that says, give a man a fish, will fish or, eat for a day. Teach a man, or a woman in this case, to fish and they will eat for a lifetime, right? So that's what we should do. But it's easier said than done. Even here we can screw up. If we don't teach them how to fish, not just giving them a pole and some, some worms and say, go fish. We have to teach them right. Otherwise, they may end up doing this. In the wrong pond. So it's very important to do it right. Okay. So how do we teach that? How do we teach lifelong learning skills? Two things. One is inspire, motivate, inspire, passion, inspire. This is something that we have to do in every class that we teach, every lecture that we do. Have the thirst for knowledge, excitement, passion. We have to do that. And then connecting ideas to real world situations. If we don't do that, it becomes a dry lecture. It's useless. That's the way that I studied when I went to school here. We had a professor who spent in a 1-hour lecture for a machine design course, 50 minutes copying a picture from a book, a spur gear. The last 10 minutes, he just explains that. We spent 50 minutes copying the stupid thing there. So that's not what it is. You're wasting your lecture. Okay. Second thing is engage. Okay. So we need to structure assignments that require finding and using information. And of course, and then design process that requires students to learn different kinds of knowledge and applications and things like that. So inspiration, inspiring them in every lecture. I try to do, again, it doesn't come in easy. It comes with a lot of experience. It's an awareness and a willingness. You think it's hard, but it is not. It can be done in every classroom. All you have to do is just pay attention a little bit just before going to lecture, a few minutes what you want to do, and use that 50 or 60 minutes very effectively. So I try to do that. In fact, I use that Krishna's bell. I take my bell to classes. Every 10, 15 minutes, I ring the bell just to wake them up. Because bell is a very wonderful thing that brings the awareness to the present moment, right? We all do that. That's very important because they're lost all the time. So when I start my lecture, I tell my students, let's close your eyes. Close your eyes for 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Everybody close their eyes. So when you do that, you get rid of all the baggage from your mind, just you're aware. And then you start a fresh slate. Then 10, 15 minutes, whatever lecture, whatever the concept topics that you're going to talk about that. And then bring it out, reflect that, and then go to the next one. So I structure your lecture so that you're inspiring them constantly. And you're engaging them, like we're doing here. It's engagement, classroom engagement. And this is extremely important, as I said, because the technology is so fast. We're always playing catch up with this. Okay. So we can use some kind of lesson study approach. You can establish your own local expertise for what is lifelong learning. What is it that you want to instill in your course, in your lectures, and then develop and teach. Use all the things that we talked about in this conference: the active classroom, flipped classroom, engaging students, hands-on learning, cooperative learning, project-based learning. The bottom line is the student should be able to, at the end of the course, say, just get rid of that vocabulary of I don't know, but I will find out. That's what you need to do. Okay, and then reflect and revise. Okay? So some examples. For example, in the mechanics and materials course that I used to teach, in the very first class, normally what do? We take our syllabus, we hand it over to students and talk about the syllabus whole hour, right? This is the assignment, this is the first assignment, this is how I'm going to grade you. Focus so much on this grading. Instead, this is what I used to do. I put up a building, the best building in the world, Burj Khalifa. I said, in this course, all we are doing, the entire 15 weeks of lecture, is to answer just these 3 questions. The questions are, is this structure strong enough? Is this stiff enough? How would an engineer know? That's it. So, and I keep coming back to this every lecture, every topic. So that at least they know the big picture beforehand. You need to relate to big picture, real world. And then when you talk about deflections, that's the stiffness part. You talk about stresses, that's this, this strength part, okay? And then all the details of how would we know. So things like that, you have to relate it to what you're doing in the real world. When I teach vibrations course, I relate it to, let's say, I have the students, next class when you come in, everybody has a car, you go and look underneath your vehicle, and then give me some dimensions of the suspension, the A-frame suspension they have. Or, the muffler exhaust system, just bring the muffler systems, tell me where those isolators are located, and have one of them come to the board and draw that, and use that as an example when we do analysis. Instead of picking a problem from a book, the book problems are useless. It's just something, right? So instead, this is the real world problem. Okay, or a bridge, for example. So have them go eyeball the dimensions of the bridge, and instead of a truss problem from the statics book, here is a problem from the real bridge that is there in your neighborhood, and use that, and then you do your own thing, method of joints, method of sections, whatever that we're doing related to the real world. That is how, in fact, the comments that I got from students were when they drive on that bridge again, they said, I'm never going to look at that bridge ever again after you taught me that. So that's the kind of comments that I get, in the evaluation. When I teach noise control, we do all kinds of power tools. This is the real world problems. We work with the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, worked on all kinds of power tools, how it affects the construction workers, their occupational hazard, the noise issues, and all of that. And I also play a very annoying sound, some kind of a door, creaking sound, and say this is how annoyance is. Or play a very loud diesel engine. Say you listen to this for 8 hours a day. A construction worker, imagine what it does to your hearing, things like that. So you have to relate it to the real world all the time, every topic and everything. That's how you instill this thing. One of my colleagues is working on, there's a website here, if you want to take a picture of this and then look at it. There's a ton of this work he's been doing for the past 5 years in this mechanisms course, dynamics machinery. So where he has students design mechanisms for this disabled children And they actually build these things. This is all done in 15 weeks. And it is extremely beneficial. This started as an NSF project. Now it is privately funded. And so many kids have benefited from this. And the students love that because they line up to take this class because they know they'll be working on these kinds of projects. We offer 2-3 sections of this, but his section always gets filled within the first 5-10 minutes. The others are all always empty, like that. So they need to just figure out a way. And you can do this too in every course. This is one course. So like that, there are many, many opportunities. So this is the stuff that you do inside the classroom. Outside the classroom, of course, there are many such opportunities, like professional societies. And we have ASME, SAE, IEEE, whatever it is, ASE. Have them join, have them do lectures, have them do tutoring for their mentorship for younger juniors and freshman students. So they're always engaged outside the classroom. Okay, and they give extra credit for that and compete in national competitions. Come to these conferences. I don't see any students here, unfortunately. I wish there were more students, in conferences like that. Because this is how they become lifelong learners. This is how they know the joining societies, attending conferences, mixing with colleagues and experts. Those are the things that you have to instill that from day one when they join. Okay. In fact, a couple of years ago, Tennessee Tech and we brought about a dozen of our students. We gave lectures in 3 different places, in Pune, in Chennai, in Jaipur, to about Baja, how to design Baja vehicles. There were 1,000 students benefited from that. So they came. This is a great multicultural immersion for our students and also the students from here. And as I follow, 5 teams came last year to Tennessee Tech. We hosted 5 teams, including Pune team. They participated in the Baja. And in fact, Pune came and beat us. They learned from Tennessee Tech students. They came in overall 9th in this competition. Our team came in 11th. So that's an amazing thing. One way, it's great news for me, but our students didn't like it. Look, they came and beat us. They were saying that. So that worked out beautifully for us. And now they're competing internationally, and they are so excited to, because of that. They're going to be lifelong learners. Like that, we have similar competitions in the Formula, Baja, this high mileage vehicle, snowmobile, and there is also solar. All kinds of competitions are there. So get your students involved in everything possible, because advising is very. You need to have good advisors for this. So one of the comments that I heard from the students that came to us, or the advisors were very disengaged. They said advisors are there just to sign papers for us. They don't do anything. That's not good. Let me follow up here. So this is another outside the classroom activity, what is called IQ, which is inspire, imagine, and innovate. We do this. And we have a competition for entrepreneurship where students from very first year get engaged in building something, making something, and they compete, at the end of the semester, and they win awards also. So we also have this kinds of NSF experience where they actually built this skeleton of a dinosaur, the 3D scanned it, brought it to computer, and they visualized it on this virtual reality, and they printed it also using 3D. The whole thing done in a span of 1 semester. So how do you assess this? A couple of slides quickly on assessment of lifelong learning. So again, the concept that we are looking for are self-direction, self-regulation, self-motivation, reflection, and metacognition. That is cognition about cognition. So you establish some kind of a performance criteria. Those performance criteria could be able to plan one's learning, able to assess, monitor one's learning, things like that, and then come up with these kinds of outcome-related objectives. So by the end of this course, the students will be able to do these things. So that's a rubric that you have for assessment. So you can have direct assessment like this with the performance criteria, or you could do indirect assessments. Indirect assessments could be surveys. In this course, I was encouraged to taught how to learn new material outside the classroom. I became aware of, okay, stay current. I learned how to access information from a variety of sources, synthesize new concepts. So this is all there. There's if you want to take a picture of that, there's a paper, gives you more details on these rubrics. So this is how you assess in your course, in whatever you're teaching. It's very important to do assessment, and so you can revise lesson plan for the following semester, like that. So the key indicators here are, you need to instill these behaviors. Okay, the behaviors are aware of current issues, keeps up to date with events, reads critically. So we know all these things, but we don't take make an effort to do it, and that's what I'm talking about. This is nothing new here. What I'm talking about, it's everybody knows this. It takes a little bit of edge, a little bit of enthusiasm to get it done, and then a commitment to do that, okay, and a willingness to do that. Once we do that, I think we'll be in good shape. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Dr. Mondra. Okay, now let us do our thing for 30 seconds. Reflect on what you can do to transform what you do in your classroom or institution to improve what you do for your students based on what you heard in the lecture right now. Think about that for 30 seconds, everybody. Okay, I'm going to go around and get examples from some of you as to what you now, something new that you're going to do to transform your own classroom based on what you heard. Who wants to go first? Okay.
The concept of presenting a big picture. Okay, many times that's what will be missing in the classrooms. Probably something like how did Twin Towers fall? Where was it hit? Kind of, it would be exciting for the learners to pursue it for a semester.
Excellent. Excellent. Who else wants to share what they're going to do in the classroom? One gentleman there. Okay, let's go there.
One of the point I got from your slides only, and that is giving some of the credits. So like internal assessments, giving some of the credits for the certain type of students, that will become the motivational factor also.
Having the real world examples is an excellent idea. And I mean, when you're trying to teach the students to do a plant design or something, you don't have that in your backyard, but there are things in their backyard that would apply. So I think having even the students find those examples would make it more engaging.
And as much as possible, tell stories from your own experience or from the web. Stories, great way to engage, great way to motivate.
Okay, let's take another minute. Talk to the person next to you. We didn't do that part of it. I skipped that step for some reason. Everybody talk to the person next to you. But what you would do in your classroom. I didn't do that. Okay, let's have a little more sharing. Someone from this segment here. Want to share?
Okay, I would like to add one more thing. I would like to tell some real life examples existing, and I would like to have a target from the students itself to set up for themselves what they want to do in the end of the subject, so that during the subject they are targeting on that and come up with a solution from their side.
Yeah, it comes from them.
Yeah, one more from that side. Yes.
So from my experience, I've seen students learn a lot when they build their own stuff, like the examples you mentioned, Baha or Formula Student, because a lot of things that are on paper don't get translated into real world prototypes. And only when they see, they say, okay, the roll cage dynamic is so much. When the student is this tall, he fits in, but how the car thing varies. So yeah, when they build stuff, they learn a lot more.
They're there every evening, weekends they're there. So it's just a big deal.
Okay, let's give Dr. Moro a big round of applause. Reflect on this process. I know I can see many of you are scared that I would come and ask you to make a comment. Okay, that is what you will find in your classroom also when you try to do this in your classroom. You have to be able to learn to help those students start opening up. First, you have to open up in sessions like this in order to be able to do this in your classroom and get your students to open up and have a discussion. It's not easy. First day you try it, all your students will do this. And then you will feel frustrated and you will stop doing it. Wrong. On trying again and again till you get a few people starting to talk and gradually get more people talking. It takes time. In the United States, it takes time everywhere. Students want to just sit and be taught like they used to be taught before, but they had nothing to do. Now you're making them do something, which is learn. And they're afraid. Okay, so it's going to take a lot of work. Okay, now we have, who do we have next? Okay, oh yeah, we got Dedas Chetty here. Okay, Dean of Engineering, University of District of Columbia. Again, one of our sponsors. So thank you very much, Dr. Dedas Chetty.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here. As a Dean of Engineering, I also teach at least one course every semester. And I had been doing that throughout my career. Previously, I had been a dean at Lawrence Technological University. I was also a chair professor and dean of research at the University of Hartford in Connecticut for many years, where I have experimented many of the techniques which have been being talked about in earlier talks. I'd also been a faculty member at Cooper Union for Advancement of Science and Art in New York City early in my career. Today, what I am going to mainly talk about is active learning, mainly some of the work done by my colleagues in one department who have been very much committed to active learning. Okay. In fact, a few days back, there was a webinar by Dr. Veena Kumar and Dr. Bedula, and they were talking about how the students' attention span goes down after 10 minutes, in fact. So you have to really make something which is even this session interesting so that they really get engaged throughout. So that is one of the reasons why the faculty members are looking for ways like how we can address this. So active learning people had been using it. Even this conference, I had talked to a few people yesterday. Some of them are doing it, some of them are facing some problems in their own institution. Some of them want to try out. But generally, according to all the research which is available, it is effective teaching approach that engages students in various types of learning activities. Engages students in doing things, thinking about the objectives of the course and the tasks they have to do. Active learning approach can include both isolated activities as well as it could be structured activities to motivate students to take charge of the field. Now, when you look at the active learning paradigms, it could be instructor focused, it could be student focused, and in fact, instructor focused could be lecture driven group activities, or it could be student focused based on problem based learning. There are various types of models are out there. So main emphasis is it puts the accountability on the learners. The only thing downside is if you talk to various people who have been trying it, faculty think that there is more time and effort is needed. They have to spend a lot of time on these things and they cannot cover the whole syllabus. I have seen some models where people have like they give 10 to 20 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes of lecture, then go to student groups and students discuss about it, give a presentation, then come back and do lectures again. And this is an effective way of doing this. There are a lot of research which has gone into this. And there are both positive things and negative things in both areas. So again, like, so in active learning, especially, the emphasis is 90% of what they do is done by the student itself. There are various models of active learning. The peer interaction is one, group-based learning, project-based learning, flipped classrooms. So flipped classrooms is something many people have done. They make use of the class time to engage students in activities beyond passive receipt of information. The key factors are: what are the students' learning objectives for this course, how to understand students' learning styles, how to connect students to the course topics early on in this course, how to make learning fun in this class, how to effectively access and measure learning. Ken Bain had been a leader in this. He had been our provost for a while, and he has written a couple of books. What are the best college teachers do? That is one book, which is very good. There is another one he has written recently. What the best teachers, what the best students, what the best college students do. That is his second book, which has come out recently. But one of the best articles which has come out in this area is by Ambrose, Bridges, and DiPietro, which is How Learning Works, 7 research-based principles for smart teaching. So the active learning, although we try to do it, some of the problems are you need significant time and planning on behalf of the instructors, incomplete course coverage sometimes, time and efforts for providing frequent feedback to the students, designing and implementing various active learning styles. So the model which some of my colleagues have tried out is student presentation-based active learning. To encourages learning accountability by involving students in the learning process to educate the group. And this student presentation-based learning builds on the concept of having to use time outside the class to build their knowledge and learn it to a degree so that they can teach to their peers. The students become instructors, prepare and lecture using the material provided by the instructor before coming to the class. And then this method, SPAL method, builds on a sturdy foundation of solid research literature which has been published, and there are various documentation available. And this approach adopts the 7 research-based principles. Students' prior knowledge can assist the learning. Students' approach to organize the knowledge can impact the learning skills and ability to apply what they know. Determines and directs what they learn. To develop mastery, students must obtain skills and exercise integrating them and identify when to apply what they have. And the goal-directed practice along with targeted feedback can enhance the quality of the students' learning. And students' level of development interacts with societal, emotional, and intellectual climate to impact learning. And to become self-directed learners, students must learn to monitor and adjust their approaches to learning. So all these 7 ideas are the recommendation from this group, which is really a very good study about active learning. So what our group has done is they have done introduced the student presentation-based approach in several courses. They give reading assignment to prepare well-rehearsed 20 minutes of presentation to the student. And students give PowerPoint presentation on well-defined conceptual topics and some different modules. Reading the assignment on topics are administered 1 to 2 weeks before covering them in the class to allow for preparation. In every class, 3 students or 3 or 4 student groups give presentation on the same subtopics or concepts. Student presentations are graded according to certain rubrics which are developed. And the rubrics focus on coverage of suggested topics, quality of the presentation, and some questions and answers. And these grades are posted right after the class in the Blackboard online grade center to provide feedback to the students. So these were tried out in smaller classes, like with a group class size of 15 to 24. So each group is given same topics to cover before the lecture and required to prepare and present the same topic during the class time. Questions are asked during their presentation to assess their understandings of relevant topics. The experiment is carried out throughout the semester for about 10 weeks, at least twice a week. And the whole exercise is assessed. There are two types of assessment: direct assessment of teaching practices of student, anonymous surveys of student participation. Assessment is designed to collect evidence of how students are participating in this SPAL, has bettered their understanding of the course material. And secondly, perception of the students using this method through online survey. A specified criteria is identified and employed for consistency. So in the in-class assessment, these are some of the evaluation criteria. Students provided introduction, background, and it is rated from excellent to poor or failed. Students covered the basic topics. Presentation has a clear organization. So it is like a sort of evaluation of a teaching practice in the form of, there are something like, there are more than this, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so on. And then there are anonymous online surveys also with various questions. The student presentation-based active learning approach is a new concept in this course. Do you feel it has helped you to learn the concepts and methodologies in engineering design in this semester? As a presenter, how many hours a week did you spend reviewing the course material and corresponding chapters and textbook before presentation? As a presenter, was the class setup helpful in learning of the course material? There are several more. I have just listed a few sample questions here. So this is the result which I was really interested in seeing. As the number of SPL practices goes up, the students' performance has increased. So these are different SG1, SG2, SG3 are different student groups which participated in participating in this activity. And this shows the assessment of each student group presentation over the entire course of this SPL practice, in which each color represents this group. It has increase in grading of the performance. So this is something which we liked it. So I have recommended this not only to one department. Now the other, this was mostly, as you see, in an engineering school, there are some disciplines are active learning. My university, mechanical engineering, civil engineers are early lead in this area. But then if you look at electrical engineering, they are slow to come by. Then computer science is a part of the School of Engineering, and you have to really get them involved and motivate them to get involved in active learning. So that is what we are trying to do, because they come up with excuses, it doesn't work here, but you have to show with example how this active learning can still work in computer science area too. So, but these results were really encouraging. So once the students have implemented, faculty have implemented this practice, they have started giving presentation to other departments, how this can be implemented, presentation-based approach. So these are some of the results. As a presenter, 60% of the students spend 15 hours per week preparing and reviewing the course material, 30% spent between 10 to 15 hours per week, 10% spent an average of 10 hours per week reviewing the course material. Then the students who reviewed them, because the whole class participates. There are presenters, there are reviewers. As a reviewer, 30% of the students spent an average of over 15 hours per week reviewing the course material. 30% spent average 10 to 15 hours, 40% spent an average of less than 10 hours per week. Then if you look at all the other surveys, 100% of the students rated this approach as extremely helpful in assisting them to understand the course material. 80% of the students gave a 5 for this experience, 20% gave 4 in a 0 to 5 scale. 30% of students responded they were better prepared before coming to the lecture and feel more confident in understanding the topics. 40% said interactive discussion during the presentation helped them to better understand the topic. 80% said it takes times to prepare for the presentation. And so that is one of the challenges. 20% of students responded. Some groups' presentations are not that well organized and it is hard to understand. 10% of the students responded. They add a review session at the end of each session is necessary. 10% of students said it helped them to increase the grades or make them understand that teaching is fun. You know, in conclusion, overall, we thought SPAL has displayed positive results. Direct and indirect assessment on the students showed that 90% of them find it very useful in understanding the material, and it works best in small sized classes. So suggestions for improvement, it could improve if the faculty provide quick feedback to the students right after their teaching session. Multiple faculty members teaching SPAL should use some kind of a common rubric to evaluate and comment on the student performance on their classes and provide feedback. It is useful to have more than one group presenting the same topics during the same lecture, which helps the students to learn again, the presenters, the audience, to have more comprehensive understanding of the subject. While discussing this kind of activities yesterday with some of the participants here, I mean, some institutions might find it easy to implement. They're already doing it, some of them. Some of them are saying that there are some local constraints. So maybe we should really spend time to see how we can overcome those constraints and see whether it can be implemented in a wide scale. But in our place, what we are doing is, it is accepted by some group of engineering departments. Other groups are slowly coming by. Then we are trying to see whether it can be widely used across the university. Thank you.
Give a big hand, folks. Leave us. I did not even have to ring the bell. Okay, so reflection time. Perhaps some of you already are trying this approach, and probably many of you are not. Think about it. Okay. In your classroom, in one of your courses, is this something that you might want to try? Okay, so think about it for 30 seconds. What would the problems you would face?
All right, one quick announcement. So we have a car DL1CU 5566. Its headlights are turned on, I guess. So if you are one of the members, please turn the lights off. 5566. DL1CU 5566.
Okay, turn to the person next to you, everybody, and talk about implementing something like this in your classroom or in your environment, wherever you are. What successes you had and what problems you might have. Okay, let's chat with a few people. Let's share. Who wants to share? Gopal. Okay, the other important thing in this technique, okay, after a few class lectures in your course, you'll start to get to know people's names. It would help say, okay, Gopal, what do you think? If you know the person's name, it helps. And this 30 seconds
You give them for them to reflect, give some time to think. If I immediately after that, if I said, go on, tell me what you think, it's not that time to think, right? That is scary. So you have to give them time to think. That's the reflection phase. Now they have thought about it. So you're not surprising them by saying, Gopal, what do you think?
I have tried this in my courses. My experiences, initially, I had to spend more time than I had allocated. But as we progressed, I was able to make up for the early losses of time. It's basically because students also need some time to adapt to this kind of a thing. And you really have to put efforts. This is one aspect. At institutional level is faculty buy-in. This kind of an approach, you cannot do things on the fly. You have to really plan well before you start the semester. And it really requires additional effort. Faculty buy-in is the challenge.
Anybody else wants to share? Yes, in the back here.
I also implemented since many years I'm doing this. So the project is given, and generally I ask students basic fundamentals I cover in the class, and I ask students to present on what is the latest development, because most of the things which are not available in the books. So they come up with the topics which are in latest developments which is going on, and they make presentation, and then we discuss on what it is and how it goes. So that is what I implemented, and also I introduced game-based learning, game-based evaluation rather, team-based evaluation, and I teach a course to the first year thermodynamics. So I correlated the all religious aspects. I'd say if zeroth law, first law, second law, third law of thermodynamics with Bhagavad Gita, Quran, Bible, Park, and everything covered. So I named it spiritual thermodynamics. And once special lecture is given, and the students they enjoy it a lot.
Thank you so much, Manoj. Okay, we're going to move on here. Our next, give the speaker a huge hand of applause. Give us. Our next speaker is our own very famous favorite friend, Deepak Garg from Bennett University.
Hello, good morning. You know what I got in drink yesterday night? Krishna's bell. But every day I ring Lord Krishna's bell, so I was not worried. So I will talk about one very innovative project that we were doing from last 18 months and which will complete within by March 31st. So innovative research in pedagogy for mini MOOCs blended with instruction strategies to enhance quality of higher education. So this is under Newton Bhabha Foundation structure, and that's how we got this funding. So this is the content of the presentation. We will talk about specific characteristics of Indian learners, research aspect, and what data analysis we did through this project in different institutions. So the objectives of the project were designing and developing mini MOOCs. Because of the retention issues in MOOCs, there is now a wave to have mini MOOCs instead of full MOOCs, which are generally 3 to 4 weeks of MOOCs called mini MOOCs. So then we scaled up this activity with the help of 11 lead zonal institutions, which were covering the whole demography of India. And then they were supposed to train 10 each institutions in Tier 2 and Tier 3. And I feel very good that many such institutions are sitting here in front of me, so they can vouch for different things that I'm talking about here. So then we introduced the technology skills and resources and training required for developing such MOOCs. And what was the differentiator here is that the people at the ground level were thinking that they need high quality studios in their colleges and to develop these MOOCs. But we showed them that it is just possible with a simple PC with you or with a simple laptop with you. You don't need any high class camera or nothing. Simple webcam is also enough. Simple smartphone is good enough. So that's how we train them to enhance the capacity of the teachers and driving technology, enhance education adoption in the universities. So these are our 11 institutions. These all were led by Bennett University and Thapar University, my previous institution. So you can see this is a diverse mix of institution types. There are some universities, private, deemed university. There are government institutions like NIT Silchar. There are private colleges. So all different types of institutions we taken. There was a degree college also, which is a non-engineering college, to take different aspects into the perspective of our data analysis. So I think 5 of them are sitting here. So these were the 4 mini MOOCs that were developed. One was on MOOC life cycle given by me. So that is to tell people that how to develop MOOCs and what are the best strategies to develop. So then one was on Python for the first year students, and then one on SQL.
Hi, welcome to this session on self join. Self join करने के बाद हम एक और कंडीशन सुप्रीम पोज कर रहे हैं कि E की डेट ऑफ ज्वाइनिंग M की डेट ऑफ ज्वाइनिंग से कम होनी चाहिए. So हम ऐड करेंगे.
Hello, welcome back. So this is a very important decision to be made by any instructor. Interested in some less explored area like blended MOOCs. Thank you.
Okay, so these are just some small clips to show that there are online available MOOCs in Future Learn platform developed by us. So these are some of the photographs where we did some train the trainer workshops. Then we did 12 workshops across all these colleges, 1 in each college. So what are the facts about Indian learners? India has become the 2nd largest market now in the world after the US for e-learning. So Indian enrollment accounts for about 8% in Coursera and 12% in edX. So that is a significant chunk out of 128 countries, right, if we take care. So what is the age statistics? The visitors from Western countries are on average older, and visitors from developing countries are younger. So that is the data given by Class Central Survey. So that is the advantage we have. So how we brought some research aspects so that we can see that what is the response of the learners. So one was that these MOOCs were on invitation basis. These were not forced upon the students. So these were optional, right? So one of the mini MOOC was chosen to be delivered in blended learning environments. Blended learning here was meant MOOC in the class, because MOOC is developed for online learning. But how you can blend with the available MOOCs or online learning material so that the teacher teaches in the class, and how it takes advantage of the mini MOOCs outside the class, right? So that was blended learning that was tried, and it was further we elaborated it with the gamification, role playing, group conversations, and active and project based learning. And one mini MOOC was delivered in English and Hindi. You just saw one example. And one mini MOOC we followed validate with assessment approach. Means whatever task the students were given, they were just not given the task, but they have some questions in between that task. Unless they don't complete that question, they cannot go forward. So that whatever is given is validated, that they have actually gone through it. And in one mini MOOC, learning by doing approach was followed by integrating the required platform. So there was a coding platform that was integrated with our mini MOOC. The students were able to directly code into that platform, and that assessment directly comes into their individual profile, that what they have done as part of their coding assessment. So let us dive deep with the Indian learners. So this is the data, 57,600 records we got based on our different questionnaires or the data they feed in when they are taking the MOOCs. So this is how the analysis is done. So this is the statistics because there were 110 colleges representing different states. So you see we have on north we have Punjab represented, then Uttar Pradesh, Kerala, down south, Assam, northeast, Chhattisgarh. So there are different types of states. Some are very populated, some are very forward looking, some are still developing states, some are underdeveloped states. So it consists of all the combinations, the male 65%, then you can see mostly being represented by middle class, but there are students 58.8% lower middle class. There were specific questions about these things. So that's how this data came up. So we have to take Indian perspective into account, we have also taken data whether which category they belong to, SC, ST, OBC, and they belong to urban or semi-urban or rural areas. what is their language comfort. So 88.6% said that they are comfortable in English, but that doesn't mean that they like English mini MOOCs, right? Because to show their status, they want to say that we are comfortable in English. But when we saw the result, that was not consistent with this choice, right? So then we have mostly B.Tech students because most of our institutions are engineering institutions. Then you can see what were their background in +2 means what kind of academic merit they were coming from. So 80 to 90 percentage point, 32%, then 70 to 80, 26.8%. So they are representing a diverse background in terms of academic profile also. So there is the education level means that some students who are in UG first year, they took our courses of Python and SQL, then some students of UG second year, then there were some of third year and fourth year also. So these are the questions that were asked, that what is your motivation behind joining these courses? So the first was that I want to make a project or MOOC of my own. So this question was not asked to the students. The two of the mini MOOCs were actually meant for the teachers. MOOC life cycle and best practices in MOOC, and two were for the students, Python and SQL. So the teacher said that why we are taking that, because they want to make a MOOC of their own. So this is a very good figure. 32% teachers in India, if we take this data, they want to develop their own MOOCs. So this is a big opportunity for us because they are so much motivated that they are ready to take the initiative to spend that kind of energy and effort to develop the MOOCs. So to master it in short time span. So this is the second motivation. People want to master the concepts in short time span. For better understanding, as I am studying in my class too, so they are taking that subject in the class, but for better understanding, they also want to additionally take that MOOC, right? For revising the concept once again, 17%, then some for the company interviews or for job purpose or for placement purpose. So this is some of the feedback, actual comments that have come. See, MOOC is very famous for its simplicity. That is, simplicity is one of the keywords that we got. That people don't want MOOCs to be too complex. They want it to be simple. So to learn means to learn is again, we got learn keyword too many times in the comments. Then for better understanding, for job. So these were some of the key elements that why the students are interested in taking MOOC courses. So this is the Indian learners' behavior. You see 5 category here. One was leavers, that who actually unenrolled from the course after registering for the course. So there is some percentage of students. Then there are learners who have at least viewed one step at a time, but then they did not go beyond. And active learners were only 73, 70, 62. That means those who have completed at least one step of the whole mini MOOC. And social learners, those who also posted at least one comment. And fully participating learners who completed the course. So you can see that the figure is higher than the normal retention rate in full MOOCs. Then run retention indexes like H index, that how many students completed how much of the course. So that means 52.4% students completed 52.4% of the course of SQL. So that is called run retention index. So results from two different types of audience, that teachers who took 2 MOOCs and the students who took 2 MOOCs. What is your previous experience before this course in MOOCs, whether they have some prior experience or this is their first MOOC. So these questions were asked. So this was the result. Feedback by Indian learners. So we got good feedback. Feedback by Indian learners, again, what percentage of contents you were able to understand. So they say 80 to 90% because we kept it very simple. The instructor was good communicator. Most of them agreed. What factors affected your participation in this course? So you can see time zone. So time zone doesn't actually mean that US and India time difference or those kind of things. Time zone means whether it was in synchronization with their other commitments to teaching or family or some other thing. Similarly, the time zone was also important for students and teachers. But you can see for teachers, the day job was also taking their so much of time that they were not able to concentrate on mini MOOC. Students' unfamiliar platform was again one most important factor that why they were not able to take up it. So I will be interested in attending a follow-up MOOC on the same subject. So you see that most of the students were motivated to take one another MOOC after this. Do you wish to have MOOC in regional language? Yes. So here you see the contradiction with the English comfort, right? So then is there anything you would like to tell us as a feedback? They said practice coding test was again one keyword, and they want some extra questions to try apart from the normal quiz as part of the assessment. So my last 5 slides. One of 5 key findings that we found was localization. So they want videos in local languages and local context. And if it is there, then it is highly appreciated. We can see kind of 1 to 2 kind of appreciation between a foreign speaker and an Indian speaker. So that was the thing. Learning by doing was the second one. Students who watched mini MOOCs in blended learning environments scored 20% higher marks than others. So that was the difference. Means if they are given some task where they are supposed to do something, so there was a huge difference in the results that we got. So practice tests were most enjoyable. To-do activities made the learning process simpler. The third was validation with assessment. So means otherwise the students go into lazy mode. So they don't do anything unless you say that unless you don't do this question, you will get 1 mark, or you don't, you are not allowed to sit in the next quiz or something else. So they get some small motivation or dose. So that was also means many teachers even now demanded that you should do some validation part as part of mini MOOCs. Without that, they are not able to motivate the students to participate in the process. So the fourth one, provoking conversation. So this is very important. Means like in our Indian system, we say jigyasa. So unless they don't have that, then the things don't start. So that provoking conversation was the most important factor, that you initiate them to start talking something. So some of them just don't speak, so they don't participate in the class. So that is very important. So this resulted in highest fully participating learners and highest retention index. So that was the one of the most important factors. You can see role playing in classroom rose the interest. So that is the key thing there. So the last one is celebrating the progress. So sometimes even if somebody has answered your question well, somebody has scored in a quiz well, somebody has demonstrated some new project, it is very essential that you celebrate the progress in the class or outside the class. So that gives a good motivation to those students to stay on track. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. Fantastic. Okay, as organizers, Deepak and I are guilty of a flaw in the design of this session. We had too many sessions, too many speakers, 7 in a row. Not fair to all of you. So what we're going to do now, okay, close the doors so no one goes out, okay, and you're going to have each one of you move to the other side. Get up, stand up, and move to a seat on the other side of the row. Everybody, bring the folks in the front. Block the door. Lock the door. I'm getting out. Lock the door. Somebody there. Side of the room, everybody. No exceptions. Move to the other side of the room. Everybody, move to the other side of the room. Oh, I'm to the other side too.
Okay, now settle down and get your seats. And we'll have, say, a quick share of what you just heard. This technique, in case some of you are not yet familiar with it, is called think, pair, and share. The first part is thinking by yourself, reflecting on your own. Second part is talking to each other, the pair. And third part is sharing with everybody. Technique that if you learn, it's been well proven in literature, well proven successful outcomes using this approach, okay? So everybody now, quiet, reflect on what people just presented about books. Reflect on it and what and you how you can apply it to your own situation. Reflection time, not talking about reflection time. Let people reflect. Okay, one of my reflections, and I want to share it with you because I've seen this in the last two, this paper and the previous one, is an important lesson for every one of you who's trying to write papers in this field of scholarship in teaching and learning. Okay, what we're all building is a community of scholarship in teaching and learning. Writing papers in journals like ICTIEE, publishing conferences like this. Notice how very well all these speakers that you heard this morning have used their understanding of what people have done before, done proper literature survey, understood what other people have done, and presented that information up front, saying this is the context of my experiments. And then they gave you clear information about how they designed their experiments and gave you clear information of the output, data that they got from those experiments in their classroom institution. And they did analysis of those experiments and then went back and discussed it in the context of what other people have done. That is called scholarship of teaching and learning. Each one of you is doing those experiments, but make sure you do the other pieces so the scholarship becomes complete. And then reviewers of your papers will happily accept it for publication. Okay, just keep that in mind. Now talk among yourselves a little bit about this talk. How can you take advantage of these books? Come, turn to the person next to you. Turn to the person next to you. Everybody, everybody, I would say everybody, turn to the person next to you. Don't look down or up. Everybody. Everybody, turn to the person next to you. Talk. Everybody, everybody. Behind, behind you. Have a person next to you. Talk. Share. Okay, in the interest of time, we're going to come back. I know a lot of vigorous discussions are going on. So let us share. Okay, in the interest of time, let us share. Start sharing. So, okay, let's get back to me. Okay, let's get back to sharing. See how difficult it is to get students back to from the sharing, from the reflection and pairing to sharing. Difficult. But you have to do it. You have to get all the students back to you after doing the pairing. That's important. Otherwise, you lose control. Okay, so it's something you have to practice and get people back to you. And then ask people to share. Who wants to share with everybody? And then we listen to him, everybody. Don't have a conversation.
We are from ICTIE. We are actually one of the partner institutes for this particular project. And we've been working on developing MOOCs for the last about a year or so with Dr. Garg. And I've seen quite a change happening in the scenario of understanding MOOCs, because in Indian context, before we started this project, about only, I would say, 5 to 10% of our teachers knew what MOOCs are. Today, we have 100% understanding among teachers what MOOC are, and teachers have started getting involved in this. As much as in about a month or so, we are going to start a YouTube channel in which all our MOOCs will be present, and our teachers, our students can go and see that. So it's created a lot of understanding, awareness. That's the main advantage that we got from this project.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjay Bhattacharya. From which institution is that? ICTIE. Excellent. Thank you. One more quick comment from this side of the. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Professor Deepak, for your initiative on books. Good. Just a feedback from our own students' Indian perspective. Students have a mental setup that in the class, they are going to class and teacher will teach you, right? And we have the experience that if you blend some of these video sessions and dates, then sometimes informal comments are like that from the students. Videos are available in my hostels, right? I will do edX there itself. What for you are doing here? You do something different. But this is the contradiction, and it's a challenge available to. We have many such books. But anyway, thank you.
Hello. Yeah. So I think it is already in the slides if we go through our MOOCs. So these are not to be shown in the class. Otherwise, he is right that students will think that what is the need of the teacher. So these are to be blended with the classroom teaching.
Don't show them in the class. Never. Never show videos in the class. Never. If you think that's active learning, if you think that's new way of teaching, wrong. Don't ever show them in class. They're supposed to see them at home. That's why you have the flipped approach. And then come and discuss it here. Don't ever show them in class. Okay? Wait, you want to say something?
Classroom time is the prime time for the teacher. It's the prime time. It's like the prime ad time. Every minute in the class is important. Interaction between the teacher and the students. So video is complete waste of time in class.
So they're right in complaining that you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
If you're in the video. Okay. Thank you so much, Deepak. Appreciate it. Now we move on to Professor Kishore Ramachandran from Georgia Tech University.
Can you hear me? So I'm glad that Krishna switched you around because I'm going to ask you to do a mind shift, because you've been learning about learning. I'm going to talk about how to design a program using MOOCs. So there's a good segue in terms of the previous talk talking about mini MOOCs, but this talk is about how to design a program using MOOC technology, because MOOC, as you know, has been used primarily as a way by which people can put out what they have, not in any way credentialized as to who's taking it, evaluating it, and so on. And so this experiment at Georgia Tech was really sort of design a master's program. So that's sort of the starting point. So, some realities circa 2013 when we started this program, or actually thoughts behind this program, which is probably true to this day. There is a rising cost of higher education, right? And is true in the US to a great extent, and Western countries, and probably true in India also, right? And there is an increasing demand from the high-tech giants like Microsoft and Google and so forth, in terms of producing more computer science graduates. And the reality is that brick and mortar institutions, we are limited by class sizes, right? So there's only so much enrollment that you can have in a classroom. And there's also a demographic mix of students aspiring for higher education. So, for instance, there could be somebody who's already working. They want to get a master's degree, or somebody who's in a family situation. He or she cannot leave their children and come to a brick and mortar institution. So there are lots of reasons why higher education has become sort of a difficult thing to achieve for many demographic needs. And so all of these were reasons that we thought about, can we do something in that space? Because that was a space in which not much attention was being paid. And the third experiment that we launched was really saying, well, there is MOOC, which is a way by which we can reach the masses. Can we use the MOOC technology to overcome some of the realities that I pointed out? But in doing that, we wanted to be absolutely certain about certain things. We did not want to compromise on quality. We want to have world-class quality, and we want to do it at scale. That's the reason that MOOC was attractive to think about. And perhaps the most important point is we want to reduce the cost of higher education. Right? So these were the things that that drove us in this direction. And I should point out two things here. One is, in order to do any thought experiment like this, there are two important ingredients. The first ingredient is buy-in from the administration, right? So in other words, the deans and the institute has to say, well, we'll be supportive of this. Because when you undertake something like this, it's an investment of brain power into doing something like this. And that has those resources that come from somewhere. And MOOC is great for sort of scaling up. But if you want to do a thought experiment, you want to start small. So in the beginning, there's going to be losses, financial losses, in order to do it at low cost, right? So somebody's got to absorb those costs. So that's the first important ingredient. The second important ingredient is that the administrators should not be the one who is developing the program, right? It should be a faculty-driven process, because only if faculty have the ownership for the curriculum will they be interested in doing it, right? And ultimately, end of the day, curriculum in any institution is owned by the faculty, right? So if the faculty don't approve it, they're not going to pass it, right? So administrators can have a vision, can write the checks, but it is the faculty who has to have the ownership of doing it. So these are two important ingredients in any such thought experiment. And I'm what I call a POP. POP is plain old professor. I'm not an administrator. So I made it very clear to my dean when he asked me to take on this job of designing. I said, I want you out. I'll select a set of faculty, and we will put together the program, and make sure that it meets all the criterion of being high quality and so on. And cost is something that you worry about. I don't have to worry about that aspect of it. You can use the European contest to figure out how to make it all work. And in fact, I had a little bit of experience doing this, because even prior to MOOC, in 2006, we designed an online program. Actually, it's a blended program, because part of it was, it's all live. It's online only because the clients were taking it from Korea. I developed a master's program in embedded software, and this was aimed at engineers at institutions like companies like Samsung and so on, with funding from the South Korean government, so that we can have this high quality master's program in embedded software without the students leaving the soil. They're in Korea, they're taking courses from us live, a Georgia Tech degree without ever having to step into Georgia Tech. we ran for 4 years. So that was sort of a precursor to some of the things that went into how we went about designing this particular program. So, as I said, the elements of the experiment, it has to be fully faculty conceived, and the courses have to be taught by regular faculty. You cannot say, well, somebody else is going to do the teaching. And we want a full developed curriculum before launching it, right? So that there is no guesswork as to what's going to happen to the students. You can sort of leave it in between halfway. And you have to screen the population very carefully. And we have the delivery platform that will scale and well thought out plan for continuous quality improvement. And some of the comments that we heard this morning in terms of learning from the learners as to what we're doing right, what we're not doing right, so that we can continuously improve the quality of the program. So all of these are elements of the thought experiment. And of course, you take a bunch of faculty and tell them that we want to do this, there's going to be skeptics galore, as you can imagine, right? And all of them are good reasons for being skeptic, because they will want to know, well, you have thought experiment. How do you know it's going to succeed? Well, here is a situation where it's a chicken and egg problem, right? Unless you launch this experiment, we cannot know whether it's going to succeed or not. But we can also think about what are the metrics that we can define for success, right? Metrics for success can be the quality of the graduates that we produce. Now, how do you know the perceived quality? Well, where do they get employed? How well do they do in the program, and what are the job opportunities that we create for them? And then the diversity of students. Are we actually increasing the demographic distribution of that are coming into this program than to a brick and mortar institution? So that's another metric of success. And outreach, we are aiming it broadly, and which means that students can be coming from industries, and is that actually increasing the quality of engagement that happens between our institution and these industries? So these are also the metrics that you can use. And of course, everybody wants to know, can we fail? And of course, any high risk, high reward endeavor, there's an opportunity, there's a possibility that you can fail. So what we can do is, in designing the experiment, you want to make sure that you can avoid the possibilities of failures as much as possible. And so our hypothesis was that yes, we can actually. That was in the previous slide itself. That we can produce and deliver a scalable a master's program in computer science based on MOOC technology, which will be low cost without compromising quality. This was a hypothesis, and that's the thought experiment that we launched on. And of course, another thing that because many, as you know, many tier 1 institutions like Georgia Tech, the focus is on research, and teaching is important, but focus is on research. And so they always worry about, is our reputation going to be sullied because of the fact that we are producing an online program, and that may not be the same quality as our on-campus program. These are all the same things that people worry about. And so our baseline assumptions, when I had this task force to develop this program, we have to be quality preserving. What that means is that there's no compromise. The courses that we teach on campus has to be exactly the same as what we do online, right? There's no compromise of quality. And the second thing, which I forgot to mention, faculty are always worried about workload. Is this going to increase my workload? That is a natural thing that people worry about. And so one of the things that we decided is that the participation of faculty should be voluntary. To do with their academic responsibilities in terms of teaching. Typically in US institutions, there is this formula, but at least lip service, that there is research, teaching, and service. These are 3 components of a scholarship. And research, of course, is the most important component. And so, one of the things that we wanted to make sure is, it's for voluntary participation. But the nice thing is that in US universities, every faculty is also allowed to consult 1 day a week. And so what I put together with my team is that it's voluntary participation. Think of it as consulting. You can augmenting your income if you want by doing this. So it's a voluntary participation by interested faculty, and it does not divert institutional resources to developing the program. This is where the deans come into play, right? I cannot take money that is coming into our budget and say, well, I'm going to develop this program. So we cannot do that. And we want to clearly distinguish this from the on-campus master's program also. And so long story short, the committee came up with a proposal for the OMS CS program, which worried about all these things, voted on by the faculty, approved by the faculty, and it was put into place. And it took 6 months to develop this program, work out all the details. Started in the spring of 2013, and by end of summer we had the program fully fleshed out, and we had started. We got the approval of the faculty and started production of the courses. So these are the things that went into it. There are lots of challenges, which is what I want to talk about in the rest of the time that I have. Some of them are non-technical challenges. First thing is choosing the right platform for course production. And edX did not exist at that time. There was Coursera and there was Udacity, and we chose, and of course we had to make sure that these guys don't know that we are doing this, because we wanted to release it only when we were ready to release it. And so we evaluated these platforms, and we found Udacity to be the better platform for technical content delivery, more than Coursera in terms of the pedagogy that Udacity was proposing. And so we used and then the resources for course production, because every course I taught, I produced one of those courses. It takes 6 months. It's like writing a textbook, right? So you have to produce the course, meaning that you're not just putting it out because when you put it out, everybody is going to see it. Not just the students are going to take it, but your peers at another institution. So you don't want to embarrass yourself. So the quality of production has to be very, very high quality, and which is just slightly different from what Deepak was talking about previously. And we also need resources for initial launch. As we scale up, right? Because initial launch is going to be smaller, and this is where the deans come in, right? And long story short, we have an excellent dean, Sri Galil. Some of you know him. He's very good at lining all the ducks, and he got partnership with ICTIEE, which poured up the cash for the initial resources needed for developing the courses, as well as for the initial offering of the program with a smaller enrollment. And it's not completely altruistic, because AT&T has something to benefit from that. It's a retention tool for them if their engineers can take these MOOC-based master's program. And so that's how we started this thing. And the second non-technical challenge is coming primarily from faculty. How do I incentivize the faculty? Like I said, the master's program in embedded software that I did previously for the Korean government was a good way to start thinking about this. And so we provided incentives for faculty to produce the course, because it's taking time. I told you 6 months to produce my course. So every not 6 months of completely dedicated time, but among all the other things I do, I have to steal time to do this as well, right? And so course production, you have to incentivize. You have to run the course every semester. Once the course is produced, during the running of the course, you're the manager of the course, right? Meaning you have to worry about the assignments, grading of the assignments, exams, and so on. So those are all things that one has to worry about. And let's say that Yaj produced the course and I'm teaching it. Okay? If I'm teaching it, both of us, let's say, have a common understanding of the area. I'm teaching it. I'm the manager of the course, so I'll get paid. There'll be an incentive for that. But he's the creator of the course. So he has copyright on the material, so he's also compensated. So it's sort of like a textbook model in terms of the content that's being produced. So we worked out the IP rights and scheduling of course production, and in a long story short, proposal addressed all these things, and I can go on for 1 hour, but I won't. So there are lots of technical challenges, but these are non-technical challenges. Technical challenges is how do you admit students into this, right? And so in order to think about that, typically what we do in admission is that, well, we have students give you all the transcripts and letters of recommendations and so on, and then you base on your admission on that. Now here, what we wanted to do was we wanted to say, well, they could be coming from very different backgrounds. They may have been not even computer scientists. but they've been working in the computer industry, so they have lots of street knowledge. And so what we wanted to do was, well, we have a minimum requirement that the institute needs a bachelor's degree and English proficiency. Beyond that, we tell the students, well, take a couple of our courses. It doesn't cost you much to do that. Now, each course is about $200. But take 2 courses, do well in them, and then you can apply them into the master's program, right? So in fact, there's a better way than the way by which we were admitting our on-campus students, because we can actually vet the students before they come into the program. And so that was one thing. The second technical challenge is providing a learning environment that is rich. So that is connecting to some of the previous talks that we heard. So of course, it's there's a weekly schedule of what are the things that they're supposed to be learning in 1 week. But the following week, there is an online interactive session with the instructor, during which they can find out if they've learned everything that they're supposed to learn, if they have questions, they can clarify them and so on. And there are lots of video hangouts with the TAs that are supporting the course as well. And the recording of the hangouts are also made available to students. And there are forums in which they can communicate with one another. And somebody mentioned that you have to incentivize all of these participation. So class participation grade comes from the participation in these forums, right? That's the way we can make sure that they all do that. Ensuring academic honesty. And there are no new concerns for projects and homework submission. And I'm going to use Krishna's technique here. Just think for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, why do I say this? And you can talk to your neighbors if you want to. No new concerns. The key word is no new concerns. And I think the answer is obvious, right? Academic dishonesty is rampant on all campuses, even in brick and mortar campuses. And so it is not anything new, whether they're online students or on-campus students. So whatever mechanism that we have presently, we can use the same thing for this particular thing. But the more important thing is taking exams. This is where you have to be very creative, right? And this is going to be done online. And so we have a company that we work with called Proctor Track. And what they do is they analyze, they completely analyze the videos because at scale you cannot have humans watching the videos. So they analyze it and they flag things that are anomalous in the videos. And then the numbers are manageable. Less than 10% of the tests are flagged, and less than about 10 events in a 3-hour exam. So there was an interesting thing last semester. There was one student who was flagged, and when the TAs and I looked at it, and the guy was looking somewhere else, actually looking somewhere else and typing. And we thought that, well, this is really, he's looking at something else and doing this. And so we found out what was going on. We actually contacted the guys from India. We contacted the guy, and we found that there was a legitimate reason. There was construction work going on outside the window. He was worried about the construction guys coming and hitting the window. So he was looking at it, and he was a good typist. So, so just looking at it and typing it. So most of these they tend to be not really problems, but we have to look at them. And this student turned out to be the topper in my class also. So he was very happy when he heard that. So reading the scale, I think you can sort of figure out what are all the things that you need in terms of delivery, internet collaboration, tools, and computational resources. These are all easy to deal with. The hard part is teaching assistants, right? The scale, many of these are not auto-gradable. Some of them you have to have manual grading. So how do you scale this? Well, we use the online students themselves as graders. And it's sort of like the Wikipedia effect, right? They all want to give back to the program. And they're willing to be TAs. And many of them are willing to be TAs without any compensation even. So those are things that we do creatively in terms of how we do that. And just, I'll close with some statistics. Nearly 6,000 students enrolled worldwide. Cost is 7,000, which is 1/10 of the cost of doing the program on campus. 600 students are matriculated. We get 17,000 applicants. And the course drop rate in every course is about 25%, not very different from on-campus courses. Because what happens is, on campus, all the students sign up for more courses and then drop up in the first week. It's not wasting any TA resources because they decide within the first week they're not ready for the course. And program as a whole, the attrition is about 40%. but this is a very, very nebulous number because we don't really know whether they've dropped or not. Because they can come back after a semester. All we know is that this semester they haven't enrolled. So this number has to be taken with a grain of salt. And this is the demographics of students everywhere. Of course, United States is the maximum number, but next is India and next is China in terms of number of students who are enrolled in the program all over the world. And this is the demographics part of it. Female and if you look at race ethnicity, it's about 50-50 in terms of white Caucasian versus everybody else, and 72% are US citizens. So we are happy that we are serving our own folks who need to get higher education, but they don't have the opportunity to do that. So we're able to do that, and there are lots of coverage of this in various outlets. And some very interesting stories of people who have no idea that they can actually do a master's, but they're able to do that because of the online master's program. Here is a taekwondo black belt who's taking this program. And the concerns we started with, I mentioned all of these concerns, right? These are the concerns that they had. But in reality, the significant bits that show that these concerns are not to be worried about. President Obama has talked about our program multiple times in State of the Union address and elsewhere as a model for how higher education should be happening and in an affordable way, and lots of media touch points. And our reputation is not silly. We are in the top 10. So all of these are good things. So and I want to leave you with one last thought, and that is, how do you generalize this for engineering education? I had a conversation with Ranjan just now, because computer science is a field in which you can have virtual everything and other engineering disciplines. So you really need to have a hybrid approach where you have to think about what can be virtual, what can be physical. You need on-ground presence, but you can have expert lectures, but you have to augment that by. So
thank you very much. Thank you. Exciting stuff. Exciting stuff. So we're just going to take one question and move on. Anybody has a burning question? Yeah, Neeraj.
So I happen to be an administrator, so I have to worry about the dollars and cents. This is a great program, but how do you prevent, given that it's a $7,000 cost?
I know what your question is. I mean, I can see dollar signs in his eyes. So we found out that the break-even point is having about 1,000 students or more. Oh.
How do you prevent? How do you prevent brick and mortar students from coming to Georgia Tech?
So why should students come to Georgia Tech? Why can't they all do online? Now, the reason they want to come to Georgia Tech is because the on-campus students, they get touch point with the faculty, and they get to do research projects, and they may actually get opportunities for internships and so on, which you cannot get if you're an online student. So so there's another thing that our faculty was very worried about, more than the administrator. The faculty was worried that our on-campus enrollment is going to drop. It didn't at all. In fact, it went up. Because many students, especially coming from India and China, they want the opportunity to have work in companies like Microsoft.
Thank you. Are you almost ready?
One important question.
An important question. Okay, another important question. Okay.
So I can answer that. So there is a recent report by UGC which says that they want to approve online degrees that are based on online, right? But if you read the fine print, what they're saying is that you can use online for all of the knowledge dissemination, but test taking has to be with pencil and paper. So you can have a hybrid approach. Everything can be done, using the MOOC-based approach. But then you have a test that is given not virtually like what I do, but somebody coming to the classroom.
30 seconds, 10 seconds.
The people who do masters online, did anybody join you for PhD?
Oh yes, there are a few students. Excellent question. So that was one. See, the question is, can we actually unearth some Ramanujans through this? And that's an excellent question. We haven't unearthed Ramanujans yet, but we do have at least 10 students have gone on to PhD program after taking the master.
You cannot the Obama shorts at least. Okay, on to Luani Morel.
So thank you, Krishna. I'm glad to be the first female speaker in three plenary sessions, 19 speakers. Yeah, maybe the only. So we need to change that. There's a lot of talent, women engineering educators around the world. So let's bring it over to change the ratio. So I'm going to be speaking about the fourth industrial revolution, and it's already here. And we cannot wait until tomorrow to address the challenges of developing that task force for the industrial revolution, the fourth industrial revolution. And that the previous revolutions, this one has the potential to raise the global income levels and improve the quality of life. And we need to partner. Business, academia, governments need to understand what is the environment, how is it changing, and we need to challenge the assumptions of their operating teams in order to innovate and change our curricula to address those needs. We need the engineer that will move the industrial revolution. And we don't need it just in the developed world, we need it everywhere. We need him, her, everywhere. And it's a diverse, multidisciplinary, and all flavors of creative. A locally relevant, but globally competent. Because the fourth industrial revolution will be across the globe. And each country will have its own place in this scheme of things. So it has to be locally relevant, but globally competent. Very important. So what is the challenge? What is the challenge for us? It's the challenge for the world is the lack of talent that exists right now. So this is why I mentioned we cannot wait until more development has come, because it will be too late. It takes 4, 5, 6 years to develop an engineer. We cannot wait that long. So we need to act now, not later. So how can we design the engineering curriculum for the fourth industrial revolution? That's what the subject of my talk. So what I'm proposing is we need to innovate the curriculum following 5 easy steps. I've been doing this for over 30 years in different dimensions. I will share in the session afterwards in the panel some of these the work that I've done worldwide. And I've just published this little booklet. I have this here, which summarizes the innovation steps for curriculum to innovate the curriculum. So it's an ebook, so you can download. So the 5 steps are defining and validating the learning outcomes. What are the competencies of the fourth industrial revolution engineer? Mapping the learning process. Some of you say, yes, I know. Gopal, Krishna, you know about that. And then understanding the process. What is going to be taught? Who is going to teach it? And how is it going to be taught? The teaching learning method. And then we need to measure and analyze the learning outcomes, the assessment. And then we share, make decisions, share, and discuss results. So this little booklet, you can and make decisions to improve, of course. This is the 5th step. If you want to download this little booklet, ebook, you can do so. It's now available here in novahayed.com/shop, and you can use this coupon IUCEE18 to get a 20% discount. It's just been launched about a week or 10 days ago, so you will be the first people who are going to be looking at it for the first time. So what I'm proposing is to do a backward design approach, backwards design, which means starting from the engineering competencies, the graduating engineers' skills, knowledge, and values, and designing backwards. Designing backwards. Not the way we're used to design curricula, which is we inherit it from somebody else, and this is it, we change a little bit, tweak it a little bit. No. We're going to be starting from the outcome. What needs to be taught, where, and how to assess learning. Distribute all the learning process across the curriculum. So all these elements, courses, laboratories, field trips, experiences, undergraduate research, internships, co-ops, whatever, all of those contribute to the engineer's competencies. So you actually distribute that across the curriculum. So what are the competencies? This is the first step. The first step is defining what does the engineer of the fourth industrial revolution needs to know, needs to be able to do, and what are the attitudes and values of the fourth industrial revolution engineer. So I'm going to go quickly. In terms of knowledge, this is World Economic Forum data from 2000 last year, or the year before. No. These are the knowledge areas. Do we need to create a special curriculum for the engineer of the fourth? No. We just need to embed these learning experiences within existing curricula. We don't need to create another degree. I think we lose a lot of resources by creating new programs and more diverse. In my university, we've got for 100 years in Puerto Rico, only 6 engineering degrees. No more than 6 for 100 years. What we've done is create tracks like minors that students can focus and diversify their knowledge within a discipline. So, and these tracks are multidisciplinary. So what are the skills and attitudes? Complex problem reasoning, critical thinking, creativity, people management, coordinating with others, emotional intelligence, judgment and decision making, service orientation and negotiation, and last but not least, cognitive flexibility. I love the presentation on lifelong learning because that's what cognitive flexibility is. What needs to be learned, with whom, wherever it is. You know, how many times do we ask our students to define problems in our classrooms? We always give them the problems defined. The first job of the engineer, when he or she graduates, the boss tells him, go and solve that problem. And the engineer says, what chapter can I find? And where is the data? They don't know how to define a problem, given the constraints of a real business. And listen, 95% of the students we have in our classrooms will not be like us doing scientific research. They will be working like engineers. So I mentioned yesterday or this morning that what we need to do to respond to your question is to educate the engineering educator to be an engineer, practice a profession, and also educate. We need to do both. So the response must be integrated and comprehensive, involving all stakeholders of the government polity, from the public and private sectors to academic and social and civil society. This cannot be done by academia alone. This has to be engaging industry, who are the receivers of these engineers, and government, who is interested in economic development. So the three of us have to come together to provide the transformation of this curricula. So I'm going to be ending because I don't want the bell to. So you need to start by doing what, this is my philosophy of life. Start by doing what's necessary. Then do what is possible. And all of a sudden you will be achieving the impossible. Never give up. Always do what you have to do. Don't look back, don't look sideways. This is what I need to do in my responsibility to educate people. And I disagree with one of the speakers that, oh, the Georgia Tech professor. I don't think research should be number one. Teaching should be number one. Yeah. Because people are the ones who do research. So if we don't get and service. So when you say research is number one, we perpetuate something that is wrong, I think. So I'm a true believer that what the mission, and I'll be talking about in the next panel, the mission of the university should be rebalanced according to the needs of society, not according to the institution needs. And sometimes research is put number one. Why? Because research is prestigious to the individual and to the institution, not to the country. And so we need to think about the role of universities in society, not about us. We need to think about the outside world. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I earned you some time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So we can discuss.
Absolutely, that's the whole idea. We don't want to start thinking. We will have a discussion, particularly on this whole concept of the fourth industrial revolution. Okay, how many of you know what the first industrial revolution was, what the second industrial revolution was, and how the third industrial revolution was, and what is now the fourth industrial revolution? Each one of you think about that question that I asked you just now. So just think about it for 30 seconds. What was the first? What was the second? What was the third? And now why do we call this the fourth industrial revolution? History of technology, folks. Okay, now start with the person next to you. If you know what those words tell you, share. Share with each other. What were the first, second, and third industrial revolutions? And why are we in the fourth industrial revolution suddenly? I didn't know there was a first and second. Everybody talk about the industrial revolution. What was the first? What was the second? What was the third? Go to the cell phone. Find out. Know the answer. Okay, who wants to tell us what the first industrial revolution was? First one, only the first one. Yeah. Automobiles. No. Steam. Okay. Give us the answer. Tell me what your answer. Is that right? Automobile sector? No. Steam engine is the first. Yeah. Invention of the steam engine and the corresponding changes in society because of the steam engine. The second industrial revolution. Somebody from here? Auto electrical. Yeah. What's that? Of goods. Is that the second industrial revolution? Mass production of goods? Yeah, use of electricity for mass production. Electricity. For mass production. The use of electricity for mass production. Okay, so first we had the steam engine, and then we had electricity in the second industrial revolution. What was the third one? This will be a little bit easier. We were kind of born in that generation, right? Yeah. Information technology. Cyber, go ahead.
Yeah, the cyber physical systems, which is where we are right now.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have.
No. It's good. Okay, yeah.
I just want to clarify what I said. First of all,
I love it.
I don't make the decision, right? This is the way tier 1 institutions in the United States operate.
I know.
And that is no, but there is a good reason for that. That's not a
money.
No.
Oh, yeah.
No. It is, teaching has to continuously evolve, and the only way you can do that is by bringing research into education. Now wait a minute. So let me finish. So the reason why tier 1 institutions they have 3-pronged effort: research, second is education, third is economic development. These are the 3 things. No, service is not serving our communities. I'm talking about economy. It is economy, economic development, job creation. So this is the reason that there is happening. And so it is not, so yes, you are right that we should not focus only on research, but reality is that's the one that you can easily measure. Other things are hard. Teaching, you cannot teach effectiveness, you cannot measure. Unfortunately, no. You can measure. You can measure only to a certain extent. So very difficult. It's very difficult to measure teaching effectiveness.
Just fight outside the in lunch. Okay, thank you, sir. Other less aggressive discussions. Yeah.
No, we need to discuss this.
Yeah.
That's why it never gets solved.
Hello, everybody. Actually, I have a very good question only because of your that lecture. So actually, what we have done till now, we don't want to leave it, and actually the change is already there. We had a product, and we do not have any well-defined processes. So that is the reason we are calling it that there are changes required. I just quote an example. We are saying it. We have a unstructured data. We call it big data because we are not able to have a well processes to define that data to a structured one. That is the reason we are calling it a unstructured data. So my question is why do we have to make a changes to our all curriculum so that we can at least cope up with already existing products and make some well-defined processes to at least have these products to be part of this.
You mean the products is the engineer?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what how we should think about it. We have the incoming students, we have the graduates, and we have a process, like a little chemical reactor, which needs to be turned. What are the variables for that? I'm going to be talking this afternoon in the chat, and I have another panel. So what are the variables we have at hand? We have curriculum, we have faculty, we have infrastructure of our schools, we have experiences for our students, we have assessment strategies to measure outcomes, to have all of that. So we need to look at those variables by which we make university, we teach and we do research and we do service. We need to evaluate those and decide what is it that the country needs outside. The city, Hubli, Sangli, Maharashtra, Karnataka, India. What is it that the country needs? It's not what MIT needs in the US or Georgia Tech needs. It's what you need. You have to think about your needs first. That's what I talk about, a locally relevant engineer, but globally competent. You cannot become one of those until you solve your local problems. So that's what I mean by rebalancing or looking at your mission statement and rebalancing. Should we do research? Is that what the country needs? Or should we focus on teaching good engineers? Yes, yeah. But the US is in a different. The US is in a different position. You cannot compare. You cannot compare. You can aspire, but there's a long road to be where Georgia Tech is.
So you need to walk the steps and grow. That's what I think.
Right. Thank you very much. Very fantastic.
Yeah, so welcome Dr. M.P. Punia, Vice Chairman AICT. He's an IIT alumnus and has been director of NITR Chandigarh for many years. He had served as chairman of various committees, in some of which I was member. So welcome. He agreed to my request. Thank you.
And thank you very much. Good morning to all. Many takeaways from EF, particularly to me. One, that bell can be so strong for controlling the classroom, no? And Kirna Saab, hypothetically suppose students are bringing these bells also in the class post. After 10 minutes, they are saying, sir, time is about to over, sir. Yes. Don't catch it. Second one, the fight which we have seen among the teachers on academic issues. I think first time I have seen the teachers are fighting on academic issues also. Yes, something very new experience I'm having. So I'm coming from AICT and it's a wonderful opportunity for me. First of all, I've gone through this university, wonderful facilities that you are getting here, and it's dream of ours that how these facilities can be shared through AICT institutes also, because amazing computational facilities, the vision which you people are carrying with you, and particularly we need that in hundreds of areas you please start MTech programs. So those MTech graduates who are coming out from here, they can become excellent teachers for the country. That dream I'll be carrying with me. And Madam, as you were saying, that locally relevant and globally competent, that particularly this definition is very practicable for our country. Very huge nation we are. Our population is 1.3 billion and total world's population is 7 billion. Out of 7 we are 1.3. If small calculation, I'm doing 7 divided by 1.3. If I'm doing the figure which I'm receiving, it is less than 6. It means every 6th person on this planet is an Indian, and our presence should be everywhere in the world. We should be able to compete anywhere in the world. That type of strengths exactly we are dreaming. So locally means it's a very large country, so they should be acceptable to our society also, and finally to global society. Those type of initiatives we would like to take, but because it's a huge nation, many challenges we people are facing. As far as AICT is concerned, All India Council for Technical Education is concerned, we are regulators for technical education. Our education, mainly if higher education, I'm saying after class 12, it is controlled by University Grants Commission. It is controlled by All India Council for Technical Education, and medical part is being controlled by Medical Council of India. So 3 major regulators. Many regulatory agencies are there, but 3 majors are there. In higher education, after 12th class, our dream is everyone should be able to get the opportunity to enter into higher education. At present, from class 12, suppose 100 students are passing class 12th examination, only 25 are getting opportunity to enter into higher education. Only 25, 75 we don't know where they have gone. Whereas this ratio in US is around 87%. 87% students are getting opportunity to enter into higher education. In Japan, more than 70%. In UK, more than 70%. Malaysia, more than 50%. And our neighbor China, more than 40%. So foremost task in front of us is the access of this higher education to everyone who is dreaming. And in that case, your online education, which you are saying, particularly for MTech, and MOOCs you are talking, that can be a very strong tool in time to come for the purpose of expansion of this technical education. So our mandate, which has been given to us to All India Council for Technical Education in 1987, we people came in existence through ACT. Earlier we were working, but as far as streamlining of this organization is concerned, it has been, and our major assignment which has been given to us, that is the education, technical education should be having a plan, dream for that one of expansion, and finally not expansion, its quality, it has to be maintained. And when quality, I'm saying the definition of quality according to me, when I'm giving, suppose I'm teaching internal combustion engines to 60 students. First of all, foremost task in front of me is, when I'm saying quality education, I should be able to create interest of those 60 students in that particular subject. will be studying that subject for 6 months or 1 year. So interest it has to be created. And after that, the training it has to be imparted. And when finally they are going in the field, they should be able to deliver. That's the quality education, I think. So foremost thing is the role of teacher. The role of teacher is very, very important in creating that interest into that particular subject. So the task which has been given to All India Council for Technical Education, that you please produce quality students so they can serve the society up to the best possible extent. So our target is the access of this education. It has to be equity, means it should be available for everyone. So major challenge which we are having in our country, due to that one, this gross enrollment ratio is only 25. Major reason is our cost of higher education is very, very high. Our higher education, it is costliest in the world. I'm saying costliest in the world. Per capita income which we are having, and with respect to that one, the students will have to pay the fee. That comparison, when I'm doing that way, it is very, very costly. That's why many of the students are unable to enter into this higher education, even after paying that huge money. When question of serving to society is coming, when question of employability is coming, what industries are saying, that product is not according to our requirement. And major blame which they are putting on us, that your curriculum is outdated. Whatever you are teaching, there is no use of those contents. Prime Minister of India is planning to have a bullet train by Indian engineers. It will be starting from Bombay, reaching to Ahmedabad. It will be moving at the speed of 350 kilometers per hour. But industry people are saying you are teaching them steam engines. The requirement is that bullet train and the contents which are being delivered, it is steam engine, because I am knowing steam engine only because 30 years, that's that first, something you said, no, first industrialization phase. So those contents I'm knowing, and today even I'm delivering the same content. So that's why our products are not getting acceptance. That curriculum designing part you said, fourth revolution of industrialization is saying Internet of Things and smart sensors and robotics, everything. So foremost task in front of again it is that more and more exposure to the students it has to be, and their acceptability in the society it is. And we are having this last column of this table, you please see last column of this table, 38.53. It is around 3.9 million students are able to enter into our technical education every year. 3.9 million. Technical education, when I'm saying, it is engineering, it is polytechnic, it is management, it is architecture, it is pharmacy, it is some arts and craft courses. Like this one, if I'm combining all together, that capacity we are having in our country, 3.9 million students can enter into higher education. That infrastructure is available in the country. It is largest in the world. Nowhere this much infrastructure, hard infrastructure is available for the purpose of imparting this technical education. Largest education, technical education system we people are carrying, and the number of institutes which are available in the country at present, it is more than 10,000. If you see, we are having around 800 universities. We are having 43,000 colleges in the country, and engineering institute, technical institutes, I'm saying, it is more than 10,000. So nowhere, I think, again in the world, this much infrastructure is available. Now the challenge which we are facing. Every year I'm saying first topmost columns, if you compare the capacity which we are having, it is around 3.7 million, 3.8 million, these many students can enter. But actually the admissions are, it is around 2 million. Out of 3.7 million, the infrastructure which is available, only 2 million students we are able to attract. Around 1.7 million, that infrastructure which has been created, it is unutilized. In Harvard, if you are dreaming for taking admission, I think for one seat, 100 participants will be. In IITs in India, if you are dreaming for IIT, I think for one seat, 1,000 participants will be, aspirants will be. But in our case, the is unutilized, and that's a very, very serious challenge in front of All India Council for Technical Education. Out of those 2 million who enter into this technical education, actually the graduates which are coming out every year, that number is only 1.3 million. Million, 3 million students are coming out, and as far as placements are concerned, Actually through campus, it is only 0.7 million. So now one part that I think ICTIE has done some mistake, that this much infrastructure has been created. But some mistake is also being done by teachers also, no? 2 million came, only 1.3 million is graduating. It means our role, the teacher's role, which it has to be, that we people are not playing seriously. And even the contents which you are delivering, why they are not getting accepted by the industries, it means the grooming which you are doing to those friends, that grooming is not proper. So this platform which we are having is a wonderful platform to think seriously that how this can be improved. Whole world is looking towards us. We are the most talented people on this globe, hopefully, because young generation, young energetic people we are having in the country, and whole world is looking towards us. We have to perform in that way seriously. One challenge which is that creativity, innovation, which it is being taught. One challenge which are institutes in the country where the capacity is around 10,000 students every year they can enter. But the students who are aspiring to take admission into these institutes, it is around some 1.2 million students. Yes, roughly 1.2, 1.3 million students. And only 10,000 are getting opportunity. This scene I'm showing coaching institute which is available in Kota, Rajasthan. They are aspiring for IIT, but only 10,000 are able to take admission. My son, just 3 years back, he has taken admission in IIT Roorkee. I know the coaching schedule which he was having. 7:30 in the morning he used to go to school. 1:30 school classes used to close. 2 o'clock he was coming at home, taking lunch, going to coaching, coming back 8:30 in the night after coaching, taking dinner at 9, then finishing the assignment which has been given in the school, then the assignment which has been given in the coaching classes. So life was just hell. And even with my son, because we are also coping, my neighbor also, that neighbor son is doing coaching, so my son also, it has to. Yes, it has to. So same we are doing. So our boys, girls are just like slaves. Forget about creativity, innovation, everything we have destroyed in our system, our education system, particularly the school education system, pressure of the parents, pressure of the society, that is enormous and leading to serious pressure on the students' mind. They are doing suicides, they are under pressure, even their physical development, their mental development, the financial liabilities which these students are carrying, that is enormous. And even the teaching which we are doing, after teaching, students are asking, after 4 years, what I should do these mathematical equations, where I should apply. The application part is this. We are teaching, theory teaching, 32 hours in a week we are teaching, without knowing the task, without knowing the target of this outcome-based education we are talking. But even students don't know why I am studying this subject. Even teachers don't know why I am teaching this subject. That's the challenge. So there is no synchronization between student and. Times back, I was interviewing one technical post where we wanted one electronics graduate who can do designing of some circuits, some soldering work, some PCB designing. That type of boy we wanted, boy or girl we wanted. We have interviewed 24 students. All were having BTech degrees with them, more than 75% marks. Even some of them were pursuing MTech also. First question I was asking, have you seen oscilloscope? No, sir. Have you seen diode, triode, transistor, any electronic? No, sir. Multimeter? No. Finally, he said, sir, don't ask the practical questions. Ask me theory. I said, we don't want theory. If theory I need, I'll take BSc graduate. Why engineering graduate I'll be taking then? So the biggest mismatch is not related to practical. But as far as our history is concerned, if you see Indian history, we were very strong in practical part. Even in 5th century, we were having Nalanda University here, where around 10,000 students used to study from 70 countries. And number of professors who were teaching then, that number was 2,000. Our student teacher ratio was 5. For 5 students, 1 teacher we were having. Now ICTIE is having 20. Student teacher ratio 20. Even demands are coming, sir, increase this, it should not be 20. More than 20 teachers, it has to be for, maybe for 1 teacher for 20 students, that demand. The Nalanda University, for 10,000 students, 10,000 separate rooms were there. When excavation work is going on, we are finding the type of civil engineering which we were carrying that time, the type of artisans which were having, the manufacturing capabilities which were having, very, very strong. In Delhi, when you are here, please do visit our iron pillar. Around 1200 years back, it has been manufactured. No one is knowing that who have manufactured, what technique it has been used into this one. It was forging or it was casting or what it is. Even it is not known, and there is no bad impact of this environmental hazards also on that iron pillar. Sometimes back, 2 years back, President Obama ji was supposed to come to India. When he was coming to Delhi, our Prime Minister was requesting that please do come to India, please visit India. He has refused that I won't come. I may come to India, but I won't come to Delhi. And reason for that one is very high pollution Delhi is having. But anyhow, our Prime Minister could convince him, please do come here, we'll put you in best hotel and excess oxygen will be providing. Don't worry, don't worry, please come here. He came here. He stayed in Delhi for 3 days. When he went back, their scientists, they predicted that lifespan of Obama ji has been reduced by 6 minutes before he stayed in Delhi. 3 days. So this much pollution is, and it is very bad also. If we are going somewhere, if our hospitality is not good, if our food is not good, someone can blame. If someone is blaming that your air is not good, then it's a very, very bad situation for the country. No? But I am saying too much environmental pollution is there, acid rain is there. It is attacking on the human being, but the iron pillar which we are having here, there is no impact at all. You can imagine what type of manufacturing capabilities we people were. Mechanical engineering students, our civil engineering students, Sir Krishna ji, the challenge which I am putting in front of you, that even mechanical engineering students, they are graduating from mechanical engineering, but the area which they are opting, they are saying software mein jana hai. Software, what they will be doing in software? You are studying in civil engineering, in chemical engineering, in metallurgical engineering. Why you are opting that software engineering? Software engineering work will be done by computer engineers, by IT specialists. They will be doing what you will be doing into that one. Even our engineering, which we are having, 4 years engineering program we are having. First year we are teaching physics, chemistry, maths like this. Not much engineering we are teaching to them. In final year when they are entering, many of the companies start for the purpose of placement. Final year when they are matured enough, they are 22 plus. That time they can do miracles. But because they are in civil engineering or mechanical, but in final year they are getting job in software industry. So in final year they are not taking interest at all. So your first year doesn't carry any engineering. Final year they don't take any interest. How long your engineering degree is? 2 years. Out of 2 years, examination, semester break, everything we are having. So our engineering degree is for 18 months only. And in 18 months, we are saying that our graduates will be competing at global level. Forget. Our medical graduates, Indian medical graduates are superior. That time is 5.5 years. One medical college has to be connected with the hospital. So morning they are attending academic classes. Evening they are treating the patients and latest diseases they are treating. Today if it is dengue, it is there, they have to treat their dengue. But in our engineering education, we are teaching stream engineers, which is, there is no use of that one. So there is a huge mismatch of that one. And after graduation, one mark sheet we are giving to them. In that mark sheet it is written your marks are 70%, 75. When we are discussing with industry people, they are saying there is no use of this mark sheet. Please don't give this one. We don't want this mark sheet. We want that what he is able to deliver, what he can do, and particularly in these areas. Does he is able to work in a team? Yes. Does he is innovative? Does he is carrying some creativity with him? Some ICT skills, communication skills, his behavior, attitude, leadership skills, like that. They are looking into that area. So in many of the institutes, particularly where academic autonomy is there, please give these attributes to the students. Please give importance to these attributes which students are carrying. That's the major challenge. So due to these challenges, in 2014, MK Koh, he was HRD secretary. That assignment was given by Government of India to Mr. Koh, that please improve this situation. Please give some suggestions for improving this situation.
So he has given his report in 2015 that you please do something for improving the quality of this education. So his suggestions, we are trying to implement that. And first, he is saying, don't behave like a regulator. To AICTIE, they said you become facilitator anywhere wherever your need is for the improvement of teachers' quality or curriculum, whatever it is needed. Please become the part of the society. Don't remain the office. So that's why I'm here. And every day, my chairman, myself, most of the times we are away from the office. Then second, they said the ranking system, accreditation, national, the ranking framework, which we are saying you guide the institutes, particularly the less performing institutes. Please give some guidance to them so that it can be improved. And we are having this Margdarshan scheme. We are paying around 50 lakhs rupees to the institutes which are better. And in the vicinity, the weaker institutes are being groomed by them. We are being mentored by them. And particularly this autonomy part, autonomy to the colleges. Except India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, nowhere this affiliation with the university, the system is. Only 3 countries are having this affiliation system. So autonomy to the institutes, when I'm saying autonomy to the teachers, autonomy to the students, academic autonomy, financial autonomy, administrative autonomy, every type of autonomy it has to be. Till the teachers won't be having confidence, till they won't be empowered, the situation of the country, situation of this technical education won't change. So in that area, we people are working. We are having that SWAM platform now. It is Study Waves, in fact, an online platform. It is again largest in the world, where the MOOC courses are available. Around 700 courses we have put on this platform and related to technical education. Not only in technical education, thousands of courses are available on this platform for other type of education also. And now we are saying to universities that 20% credits of these students can be taken from this SWAM platform. 20% credits. So that's why your student teacher ratio has been announced from 15 to 20, because some of the courses they can take from these MOOCs also. Then this vocational education also. The infrastructure which is unutilized, that infrastructure would like to use for the purpose of community services. For vocational courses or community polytechnics like that one, that infrastructure would like to use. Our railways are working for 24 hours, our hospitals are working for 24 hours. Why not our academic institutes? That's the target of AICTIE, that whatever infrastructure it has been created, it has to be utilized for 24 hours. And the research also, it has to be improved. So many MOUs we have signed with many organizations that the situation of intensive as well as research can be improved. First part, for the students, we are keeping now mandatory intensive. During 4 years, 6 months, they have to go into the industry, and finally they have to work according to the requirements of the industry. And particularly for MTech thesis. Another challenge which we are having, our teachers are also not having that much confidence which it has to be, because that exposure they won't carry. So now we are saying that during MTech time, our MTech is for 2 years. Out of 2 years, 1 year they are studying the theory subject, 1 year they are doing the project. And around 30,000 scholarship we are giving for MTech students through GATE we are giving. Now we want their MTech thesis should be according to the requirement of the industry. Industry should float the problems. And it is mandatory that those students will be going in the industry. They'll be taking those problems, they'll be providing the solutions, and finally at the time of presentation in the university, that student and industry people will be coming, and both they'll be presenting that this was our problem and this solution it has been provided by the student, and then we'll be accepting that MTech thesis. So the teachers' confidence will be building is taking real life problem on teachers training also. Anyone who is willing to join teaching profession, he'll have to have these 8 modules, clearing these 8 modules which it is there. Normally what happens at school level, we are having B.Ed education, Bachelor of Education. Some scientific training is being done for teaching. But in the case of higher education, just today someone has completed MTech, tomorrow we are saying go in the class, you handle 60 students. No scientific training as far as pedagogy is concerned, it has not been given. Now we are saying anyone can join teaching profession after completion of MTech, but his probation won't be cleared till he'll be completing these courses. First 6 months he won't be having any teaching load. First 6 months no teaching load, except this training on these modules. Again, sir, role of MOOCs will be coming here, very important. 30,000 teachers every year will have to impart this type of training. So role of MOOCs, role of SWAM will be very important. Online training, It has to be particularly on value education as well as instruction planning, delivery, assessment, everything will be coming through this one. Then for induction training for the students, when students are taking admission, first 21 days, there won't be any teaching. The tiredness which they are carrying through this coaching system, that pressure we want to release. They are just like defeated soldiers. In fact, anyone who is not getting admission in IIT, it means is defeated. That type of mindset is having. So that mindset we would like to balance. In fact, that particular bell baj gaya, sir. Okay. Then revision of curriculum. One model curriculum now we are having for whole country. It is available on web portal, and significant change which we have done. That is 1/4 industrialization, 4th revolution. As far as industrialization is concerned, those content as well as number of credits were reduced. The load on the students we are reducing. Earlier it was 210, now we are seeing only 160 credits. More and more learning which is there, it is through groups, it is through their interest, like that type of environment will have to. Then industry readiness, many the initiatives which industry people will be coming into the institute, they will be having a cell in the university for industry readiness. Then innovation startup, exam reforms also. Every day we are having examination. Every day. Class nursery we have started examination, and now ICTIE is saying that exit examination also it has to be mandatory. Every day. If someone is ill and we are not giving any food to him, and every day we are putting on the weighing machine that you will be weighing you how much weight it has increased. Weight, how it can be increased. So what we are giving and we are measuring. Examination is just measuring. Every student will have to prove that today if he is first, tomorrow again he will be first. Every day he will have to take certificate that I am first in the class. So that examination forms we are doing, just knowledge, checking the knowledge and what exactly is able to contribute, that we would like to assess. And to every student we are knowing, 20 students we are teaching in the lab class, we are knowing that what is their level, why examination is needed at all. Most of the topmost universities in the world, there is no examination. Just they are observing the value addition students, they are observing why pressure it has to be created. Then mandatory accreditation for that one, and planning also. If expansion of this technical education is taking place, many of the people will be giving input that it has to be expanded or not. If it is expanded, in what area the expansion it has to be. And finally, for selection of these students through one test only. One test. It may be VIT or it may be your university. Only one test in the country will be, or even for IIT. One test, no pressure on the students, it has to be. So our foremost task is pressure on the students, it has to be reduced. Then many more initiatives we people have taken. So because bell has rang, I have to close. Thank you very much for giving opportunity. I hope in time to come, with your able help, ICTIE will be doing something special which society needs. In fact, thank you very much.
Informative and entertaining, as well as questions for ICTIE. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Very difficult. Not very difficult questions.
No, exactly.
Sir, after listening to your presentation, it's everybody's feeling. This is the expectations from the institutions and faculty and our students. But at the end of the day, faculty is the person who has to deliver in the classroom. That competence is very much is required. But when it's come to ICTIE, when they regulate, they will talk about cadre ratio. Because I'm a PhD, I'm becoming a professor, but that doesn't guarantee that I'm a great teacher. But when insist this cadre ratio, that PhD for my promotion, then my focus will be to get my PhD, that's all. Not my focusing on my competency that improve my teaching skill so that I become a better teacher. Where nowhere in our regulation, nowhere in our assessment, we are talking about competence except outcome-based education. When it comes to ICTIE, no outcome-based education. We are only talking about infrastructure. You have rightly said that we have excellent infrastructure created because that's what our focus. Nowhere we are focusing on the quality and standard of the education, like what output. The madam is talking about we should start from the output.
One is hard building, table, chairs, computer. We are not stressing upon them. We are now stressing on soft infrastructure which is available in the form of teachers. Your competence, and we are not stressing upon cadre ratio also. you are a good teacher, if you are able to deliver even your promotions, it won't be through your API. It will be through the feedback of the students which is giving to you. Your head of the department, your principal, and your students who are getting benefit from you. That will be your promotion strategy. No degrees, much importance to that one. No importance on those papers which you are publishing. The importance which you are giving, that what exactly you are delivering in the class and what benefits students have put, that feedback will be most important. That we have done in several schools.
It is happening. Thank you on the way, folks.
Be given the opportunity, but institutes are not permitting even to enter into the college because we don't have a regular degree from AICTIE approved colleges. If I am competent enough to take my lectures,
Madam, why you are not having that MTech degree? 30,000 scholars every year we are giving to every BTech students who is eligible for doing MTech. If after getting that much money through scholarship, 12.5 thousand rupees per month we are giving, and after taking that help, if you are not becoming competent teacher, if you are unable to earn that MTech degree in regular mode, then who will be responsible for that one? As far as money is concerned, as far as sport is concerned, there is no dearth of money. Last year around 100 crore rupees we have given to the teachers. This year we will be giving 200 crores. You please bring your proposals. You please bring your ideas. There is no dearth of money. We people are ready to give. Don't blame, in fact. Yes.
So my question is in context with the discussion between Professor Ramchandra and Professor Moral. So we are ranking institutions based on the research contributions. But if we focus more on research contributions at the educational institutions, we will slowly shift from the education.
No. Again, it's wrong. There are 9 criteria as far as ranking is concerned. It may be in NIRF, it may be NBA. And research is only 1/10 of that one, around 100 marks. It may be 50 also in some of the cases.
Hello, Mr. Punia, you have presented very nicely issues and challenges faced by AICTIE and also the quality initiatives taken by AICTIE. But I would like to know, recently AICTIE has reduced ratios, staff faculty ratio from 120 to 150 to 120. So how this is going to help in improving quality educations or transforming educations?
Allowing to serve platform where best teachers of the country, they have put their knowledge on that one. Those contents can be added, and our target is also reducing the cost of education also. If for 20 students, one teacher will be, earlier for 15 students, one teacher was there, recurring expenditures are going down from this, and at least fee structure we can reduce for the students, because best talent in the country, which is in the rural area, we are unable to attract because cost of education is very, very high.
So, excellent talk, very informative. And I think the point that you made about moving these institutions from being affiliated to deemed, right? That's a very fantastic move. Now, how do you facilitate that? What is the process by which, I hear very different stories about politics entering into it and so on. So how do you make the playing field level so that institutions that aspire to become deemed can actually do that without political hurdles?
Yes, there is no hurdle as far as getting autonomy is concerned. There is no hurdle. Some certain criteria are there. Those criteria they should be able to fulfill. We are giving autonomy to them. If accreditation they are having for 3 years, twice if they are having, we are giving that. We are saying that you are autonomous, and you can plan your curriculum, own curriculum, your examination. Just degree will be given by the university. Remaining thing they do. So that much autonomy and no regulation from AICTIE side. Our team won't be going to visit them. All sort of autonomy.
Okay, one last
comment.
Sir, in 1980 and 1995, there is no MTech in private college. But in 2014, every college has MTech. Nowadays, there is no MTech in the college. By the reason
there is no
in private college MTech there. Little bit having the private having MTech only.
Then survival of the fittest is if they won't be able to survive, no students will be coming. We are not closing. AICTIE is not closing. If students are not coming, automatically they will be closed.
Yes. Thank you. No, we are done. We are done. The session is done. He will be available. He will be available outside for some time. Outside for some talk. They want a quick question.
And,
We have to,
I just want to
recognize
say,
the people,
right, that we are not here to complain to ICT everything. We should see that how we can contribute. Right, we have to do the things. So from my side, I have offered that if we can do something with Planet, then he has agreed that okay, we will think upon that what we can do. So similarly, you have to come up and give your hands to ICT so that we can do good things. So now I invite our Vice Chancellor to honor Dr. Punia.
yesterday we did not give Dr. Devdas Shetty his special recognition. Dr. Devdas Shetty, come on down, for being the sponsor of this conference. Yeah, we have a few other things from the IUC that we have to show later on. The colleges have not received. We will be moving.